Good morning. It's 6 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. Tennessee Titans President of Football Operations Chad Brinker and General Manager Mike Borgonzi met with the media yesterday for a post-draft press conference. They were asked about 2022 first-round draft pick Treylon Burks and if they will pick up his fifth-year option. And Brinker said, quote, "We're still discussing on that, but yeah, probably not." Burks played in just 5 games last season after suffering an ACL injury before the Titans' Week 7 game in Buffalo. Burks, through 3 seasons, has accumulated 699 yards receiving and just 1 touchdown in 27 games played. The deadline to make a decision on that fifth-year option is Thursday, May 1st. The Atlanta Braves, after a slow 5-13 start to the season, have now won 8 of their last 10 games, including last night's 6-3 over the Colorado Rockies at Coors Field in Denver. Bryce Elder got the start for the Braves, and he gave up the Rockies 3 runs in the first inning on a Hunter Goodman 3-run homer. It was all Atlanta the rest of the way as Nick Allen registered 3 hits. Alex Verdugo, Eli White, and Sean Murphy all added 2 apiece. Center fielder Michael Harris hit the tie-breaking double in the 5th, and the Braves took control after that. To the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers swept the Miami Heat in the first round of the playoffs last night as they won Game 4, 138-83. It was the most lopsided series in NBA history as the Cavs outscored the Heat a combined 122 points. It becomes the largest cumulative point differential in any series in NBA history. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you have to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW Tuesday morning, getting started on 104.5 The Zone and streaming live on 104.5 The Zone TV, Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. 615-737-1045 is the number. The Tennessee Titans have a new type. Yesterday, the post-draft press conference for General Manager Mike Borgonzi, as well as President of Football Operations Chad Brinker. They told you why they opted for some developmental prospects over maybe those who are more polished. It had a key red flag. We got the best of worst parts of the Titans post-draft roster this morning. VolQuest Awesome Price joins us at 8:20. Tennessee's quarterback has a new deal. We'll talk about that in hour number 3. And former Titan and draft MC Keith Bulluck at 9:20 this morning. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Boulding on Tuesday, April the 29th. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are we doing?
Pretty good,
We're
man.
good.
I won't complain, not even a little bit.
Nah.
I will say, you know how you're supposed to, like, you have plans when, like, a concert is dropped, and then you say, yes,
Sure.
I'm going no matter what. Today's the day I'm supposed to be going. I'm not going.
No?
I do that all the time.
Don't you?
All
I'm
the
talking
time.
about, and it happens often. I do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I'm talking about
You're all juiced for it.
I be so hyped. Look, what am I? I sound like the girl from Louisiana right now. That's Ripley coming out. I be so hyped, man. Legitimately, because Kendrick Lamar's concert's in Atlanta.
Oh.
And I was like, yeah, I'm going. Who's rolling with me? It's on a Tuesday.
Yeah, no, that's tough.
This is when you need your PJ.
Yeah, I'm
Private jet.
telling you, Kayla, I go down and come back, man. I make it right back and land right here in the
Right?
parking lot. You hear me? Somehow I'm getting to that life. I don't know how, but I'm getting to it.
I know you'll find a way.
Somehow. So I just got to keep saying it, Kayla. Eventually
Exactly.
it'll show up. But the Kendrick Lamar concert is in Atlanta, and that is a drive. Like, the only part I would hate about the drive is the initial chat drive. That gets me every single time.
I
But
hear that
Meaning
from
to Chattanooga.
Chattanooga, yeah, that bend that you go
bend.
around and getting onto
It's not as
75.
bad as it used to be.
Is it not? I hadn't been
A
in a
lot
while.
of the traffic that has been going on since Jesus was a boy is not going on anymore.
No doubt. Can they? Well, that's not like you and I work for T-Dot, but I was going to say, can they even widen the roads a little bit? Because it get a little congested, but they have, to your point, widen
Yeah,
it coming up 75.
I think a little bit. Like, truly, I've not driven through Chattanooga without there being some sort of traffic in a really long time.
And I think that's just how it's going to be in some places. Like, you just chalk that up sometimes. Pittsburgh got a lot of spots like that. It's just like, oh, Lord, we got to go to the other side of the
At least you know where it is.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
Never a surprise.
100%. But other than that, man, I do that often. If there's ever a concert here, I'm going to try to make it. And I said that until I missed the Kendrick Lamar concert last time here. It's crazy.
So he's not making a stop
He's
here.
not making a stop here. No, he's not making a stop here, which is, I get it. He's hitting every big city, every big venue, which is nuts, right? Savage going to tell me about it, though.
He's going?
Yes, he's going.
Look at, okay.
Listen, it's afternoon show privileges, okay?
True.
How's he doing? How's that going to work?
He's not on today.
Oh, there you go.
Okay.
He's
That's
not on today.
very simply how that's going to work.
Exactly.
So he can fill us in on Friday.
I can't wait to hear about
I
it.
know.
You hear me? I cannot wait to
Me
hear
too.
about it. But yeah, other than that, man, everything is good for the most part.
It's already light out. That's been a difference.
Love that.
Waking up and, already being able to see out the window.
I thought I was late every day this week.
Yeah.
No, you didn't.
For the last week, I thought I was late coming in. I'm like looking at my clock. Like, wow, I'm late.
Right.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
Not late.
It's just the time changing on us. Well,
Yeah.
not technically, but
Days get longer.
I finally had the opportunity to light a fire too last week. Sometime I was excited about on my solo stove, a pit fire. Is
Nice.
Yes. The boys 2 weekends ago wanted to do s'mores, and I was like, okay, yeah, it was just cool enough at night to where it was available to do, and it is awesome. That solo stove burns a lot of wood, by the way. Yeah, I'm
Really?
talking about an enormous amount because of the technology of it. Like air comes underneath the bottom, which enhances the fire, which also stops it from being smoked too, as smoky. But what you deal with is you're going to run through some wood. Like, it is insane.
Are you chopping your own wood these days?
Well, my neighbor, shout out to my neighbor, man, Mark, legitimately.
He's on it.
He had a couple trees fall down, and he put them in between our properties for me to grab onto them. I
Nice.
gotta holler at my guy, too, because we're supposed to sit down and have some brown water and just shoot the bobo
Sure.
from time to time. So he provided the wood this time.
Look at that.
Post-draft press conference yesterday at Ascension St. Thomas Sports Park for Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker. A number of topics discussed, including Traylon Burks' fifth-year option. Will Levis trade market, of which there was nothing during the NFL draft. And the Titans' new type. Why the Titans are favoring more developmental types. Thought this was interesting yesterday from Titans GM Mike Borgonzi.
Well, like I said, they all have developmental, things that they have to go through here. But then once you start getting into the mid to later rounds and some of these guys, you're looking at some traits, speed at the receiver position with Ellick and DK. And, Marcus Harris is a guy that played really one big year of football at Cal. But you saw the traits on film, the quick twitch athlete that can develop. And the same thing with Mullings, too. You're looking at a guy that played linebacker for 2 years when he first came in, and really last year was really his first really workload of carrying the football. But you saw a big body there that runs hard, and you saw a lot of upside with him, and we were able to get him later on the 6th.
So I think it's a fair characterization to say right now the Titans are prioritizing trait players with a give a crap factor versus maybe more talented players that don't love football as much or don't give a crap.
Yeah.
Fair way to assess the way they're building their foundation of this new roster.
I've said this before. My brother, who's coached also for a little while in Louisville, Renardo, he used to absolutely hate this Nike shirt that used to come out. It was about 5, maybe 10 years ago. He hated the shirt because of what Borgonzi was talking about yesterday.
Yep.
Nike had a shirt that said talented but lazy.
Yep.
You can get by with a whole lot of talent, man. You can get by a lot of the time with just your talent. And what you want is that balance of dudes that are still trying to scratch that surface and hit their potential. And listen to them talk yesterday. It was that part of it for me that somewhat makes sense. It also said this to me. I'm a little bit more settled in now on the fact that I feel like Brian Callahan is a part of this too. because you can't expect him to reel out win after win after win if this is your process of going to get your guys. Now, again, the aspect of the free agents being able to show a better product on the field, he'll be judged on that. But if he is a really good coach the way we think he is, and they were in charge of going to get him the types of players that's going to be developmental over the long haul, I feel like Buffalo's doing that a little bit. I think a team like Philly is looking for the talent right now because they got a different type. But legitimately, we hear about these squads all the time that go and get guys. You look 2 years down the line, that third year, and they become studs. That says a lot. But here's the other part of it, too, that really charges the people inside the organization. The coaches have to be big, huge on development and patience, though, too.
Right.
Because you speak about a guy in Mullings, the 7th-round running back, right? What's his first name? Khalil Mullings is a guy that hasn't understood or held the workload year after year after year. Those are the things you have to run into. All right, how good is his pass pro? How good is his ability to read and dissect when it comes down to when he's thrown into the fire? There's a lot of that goes into it. It makes perfect sense right now for them to go get a guy like Jackson Slater.
Right.
Like out of Sacramento State. Like you see that trend in this draft.
Yeah, and that's kind of what you need when you're trying to redo everything and build a base, is you're trying to set your culture on top of being able to bring guys in. Yeah, of course you're looking for talent, and all these guys are in the draft because they have talent, but some more raw than others. And I think what we saw in this draft is there are some players that are definitely more developmental that you can see right from the get-go. But there's also guys that probably can start this year and make a little bit of a difference, or at least help your team. And as you go on, we'll see how they continue to draft, because as you continue to build your base, maybe then you can go get that player sometimes. Not saying he has a character issue, but maybe, just there's a little bit about him that, maybe you wouldn't have drafted in the beginning to build your base, but you can do that now. So I think that's what this team is trying to do. We heard Brinker say, too, like the type of guys we're looking for who, love football, all that stuff that we've heard cliche before. But I truly feel like they are doing that, and we saw it with this class so far.
615-737-1045. It's streaming live on Zone TV. The F&M Bank chat open on Facebook Live, YouTube, Twitter, or Twitch. Who had the best and worst draft classes in the NFL? Dane Brugler of The Athletic has the Titans class in a pretty good spot. We'll tell you what he said about it coming up next.
It's Ramon Foster for All-American Pest Control. Good people, we were just speaking about how the weather's changing a little bit, but that also means it's that time of the year when bugs become a little bit buggier. And it's also that time of the year when I'm also happy to have All-American Pest Control service my house and around it too. Not just the inside of it, but the outside. But they take great care of me and my family, and have for years. Now, by the way, met them. Saw them in public randomly one day. Great group of people, man. Great business. It's local. It's one of the best things you can do is have a local business service your home. But we are set up on an All-American Complete Care Max program for pest control, mosquitoes, termites, and yard. What I love is this. If a pest get inside, all I have to do is give them a call. They send a pest expert back out to treat the inside for no extra charge. It's fantastic. So reach out to the company that I trust. You can visit yuckbugs.com. That's yuckbugs.com.
RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee with some breaking NFL news this morning. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. According to a report by Bussin' with the Boys, Will Compton and Taylor Lewan, there is an extension to report in the NFL. George Kittle has signed an extension with the San Francisco 49ers, receiving a 4-year, $76.4 million deal with an average annual value of $19.1 million per year, $40 million guaranteed, $35 million at signing, plus $5 million in 2027. Kittle staying in San Francisco.
Oh,
Please
Congrats to
credit
him.
Will Compton and Taylor Lewan.
hey.
Entertainment and breaking news outlet now.
That's
right?
big time right
Big J
there.
journalists.
Big
Will
J
Compton and Taylor Lewan.
He's
Nice to
stepping
know
in.
people.
He's stepping in on y'all territory, Kayla. You better, pull out
Hey,
the heel.
look, I didn't play,
Hit him in the
unfortunately.
shoulder. No,
Yeah.
we gotta figure this one out. I'm kidding. But
Yeah.
seriously, congrats to George Kittle. One of the best to do it. I love when these types of guys create a little dust up in the media, threaten that they want to get traded or retire and stuff like that. You know what? Bam, $19 million a year.
Right. You
That's
even
huge.
heard him talk. I think there were, now, none of this was true, y'all, but there were things tying him, obviously, because he lives here when it is the off season.
Yeah, no doubt.
So, of course, they'd have the Titans fans that are, trying to clamor for him to get here, but I don't think that would have ever been a thing.
No,
That just don't work for
Yeah.
not practical.
Yeah,
Doesn't work
thank
like that.
you. That's the best word.
But it
for
would have
It's
been
just not
fun.
Practical. Oh, it would definitely be fun if you can have a guy like him. But you wouldn't have got a guy like that. Hopefully in the 4th round this year.
Not going to be fun when he
Good for
plays
him,
9
though.
games because he's hurt again.
That's true.
There's that side of it.
Plays
too.
like a battering ram.
Yep.
Yeah,
Very
nah,
true.
So yesterday, Dane Brugler ranks every draft in the NFL this past year, 1 through 32. He's got the Titans at the top 10. Number 8 on this list. Says Cam Ward is his favorite pick. Says Tennessee's draft will be remembered for its pick at number 1, an electric playmaker. Ward has been handed the keys to the organization. His talent will give the Titans a legitimate chance to compete for the AFC South title over the next few years and beyond. His day 3 pick, who could surprise people, Gunnar Helm, tight end, Texas.
Nice.
Writing, Tennessee needed to address its offense again early on day 3 and did exactly that by taking 3 pass catchers in round 4. Helm might not wow with his size or speed, but he can wiggle free from coverage and finish at the catch point. With Chigakonkwo going into the final year of his rookie deal, the Titans will give Helm plenty of opportunities as a rookie to see what they have.
I would agree. I mean, my face lit up when I heard that pick. And we spoke about him a couple times, during our draft breakdowns, how many weeks we did that. I'm sure he got in there a few times when it came to breaking down tight ends. But I do really think it is like a good, not blanket for a Cam Ward in year 1, but it's a guy that it could be, right? And he has production in the red zone, which I think is really important too, that big body. It looks like he's one of those culture builders as well. He talked about that story coming in at 18 years old into the Texas locker room. It was cracked and nothing was good about it, and he helped kind of repair it over that time. So looks like he'll be a great addition on the field and in that locker room.
When was the last time the Titans had a big body tight end like this? Ferguson?
Josh Wiley.
Wiley.
And he's kind of more slender too.
You mean a good one?
Throw this pen at you,
Respectfully?
dog.
And Gunner's bigger,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
thicker body. Like,
yeah.
but they're like proportionally almost the same size. I think Josh Wiley got him by like 2 inches, of course. He's a little bit longer. I mean, a little bit longer of an athlete, the way it seems. I like the compact, tall guys.
Right.
I say this because I know him, like Pat Fryermuth.
You're right.
You know what I'm saying?
Josh Wiley's big.
He is big.
6'7", 248.
But if
that's
you see him in
6'7".
person, like he's more long,
Yeah,
like
he's a
he's not
longer
like
athlete.
thick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's
Gunnar Helm is only 2 pounds bigger at 6'5".
2 inches shorter.
6'5", 250.
Yeah. The 2 inches shorter part is where I'm at with it more than anything. Like, if you're going to be a 6'7" guy, your leverage and blocking going to always be a thing. Your ability to be exposed on getting hit and cracked is always going to be a thing. We're seeing that somewhat right now with his, I guess, knack for always getting injured or something going on. That little bit longer length right there is can get him. But I do like Gunnar Helm, man. It's exactly what I saw this offense to be. Again, you're looking at a team that look like they're building guys specifically for a guy on offense, and that being Cam Ward.
Right.
He fits that mold to me. If he can get his inline blocking together, make that one of his strong suits, like he could be I ain't going to throw no number out here. He can be a very serviceable tight end here,
you go.
productive. is what you want out of those guys. A consistency of production from those guys to where you ain't got to take them off or worry about what they're doing or can they handle their own, especially if you're going against teams like last year, like the LA Chargers. I feel like if you had a tight end that was able to really impact the game across the middle against a team like that, you have opportunities to win. And that part of the game, I feel like, has been missing a little bit as of late.
One thing we'll play later, Mike Borgonzi talking yesterday to the media mentioned players who can improvise in a scramble drill with a high and long catch radius will be valuable for Cam Ward, which sounds like they're going to let Cam Ward improvise. Honestly, it probably doesn't even matter what they're going to let him do. They know Cam Ward is going to improvise.
Right.
So they want players that can live that life with him. Friends don't let friends read draft grades 3 days after the NFL draft. Draft grades are stupid 3 days after the draft. However, handing out a preliminary best and worst draft class, I will at least allow that this morning. Ramon, who is your favorite draft class in the NFL over this weekend?
Favorite draft class, man. I mean, it's a reason behind it, too. It should be a reason. Duh, man. Vegas Raiders. I absolutely like their draft class because it speaks Pete Carroll, it speaks Chip Kelly, it speaks, hey, we got a 2-year window to reset this franchise and make everything work. You start off with Ashton Genty, ground and pound game. You go back to Marshawn Lynch. Okay, and then you're doing everything to fight exactly what Kansas City is in that AFC West, too. You know, the best way to do that is compete tit for tat if you can offensively for them. I love the Ashton Genty, the Jack Bech. We crushed on him over here, too.
Yeah.
Charles Rogers, getting him in the third round, I thought was very significant. But then on the defensive side of things, Tonka Hemingway and J.J. Puig's out of Ole Miss.
Pegues.
Those guys, man, I thought were really good. And then I say this, too, still in Cody Lindenberg in the 7th round, I thought was legit for them. Across the middle special team guy that you want to have inside your organization. And then, of course, I've always thought, I know we have as a Tennessee fans, but Dante Thornton. To me, I feel like he's one of those wide receivers that have come out of U2 as of late that actually may have more production. You remember when Denarius Moore came out years ago and everybody was like, hey, D. Moore went that early, and then he ended up having a good year, ironically, with the Oakland Raiders at the time. He can stretch it out, I feel like, for a team that's going to need that out of Geno Smith. But not just that, him and Jack Bech. And then on top of that, you look at what they already have. They have a above-average offensive line. They got a quarterback that can go get it themselves. As long as they keep their defense together, man, I thought this was a really good reset for them.
You would like to be, if you're a Titans fan, where the Raiders are this time next year.
Yes, sir.
Whether you've built up the trenches and you have the ability and the luxury of signing a running back in the first round or just the best available skill player to add to that formula in 2026.
Yeah.
It's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Kayla, who's your favorite draft class?
And I don't want to hear any pushback from you guys because I know you're going to go, I know
Patriots.
why. Yes.
Is it?
But it's not just for one guy. I firmly do love what they did. Well, Kyle Williams, of course.
Yeah, let's go.
But, however, I like the other picks, right?
Yeah, okay.
So starting off with Will Campbell, the offensive tackle that they took in the first round, I know the short arms, that's a thing, right?
Very
but
much
I
a
think
thing.
you guys have to understand he was the best available tackle on the board at that time. And I heard what he said after the draft, like telling Drake May, I would die for you out there. Like, I love the attitude coming in and just being like, I'm going to do anything for my quarterback. I'm going to lay my life on the line for you. But in all seriousness, they needed to give Drake May as much as he could get, right? So they helped him out in that first round. And then obviously Travion Henderson, one of my favorites in the draft. Just think that this guy can do things on every down. We've talked about the leadership that he brings to. They're starting to try to build a new type of team there as well. I think he fits the Mike Vrabel mold in that way. Obviously has the Ohio State ties. And then, Kyle Williams, for Mike Vrabel to grab him from underneath the Titans, and who knows if the Titans would have gone with him for sure, but we do know they did really like Kyle Williams. I think he is going to be a rookie that's going to surprise the league, and he's going to be a contributor in year one and another weapon for Drake May. And then the center in the third round, Jared Wilson. Again, you're having to continue to build that offensive line for your rookie. So I like what Mike Vrabel did. And again, Kyle Williams is not necessarily body-wise like a Mike Vrabel guy, but mentality-wise and, the kind of drive he has, he probably will fit in there well.
So if Vrabel switch up some of his philosophies, this block first
kinda
as a
have
wide
to.
receiver. I know. The chuckle is where I was, too, when
Yeah.
I said it eternally. By the way, you said Will Campbell, given that you won't be touched, I'll die for you. I go back to the Chicago Bears. What was it, first or second round pick? Kyron Amigli.
Whoa, hold on.
I'm brave for you for even trying.
Kyron play.
Amiga G. Either way, I'm sorry, bro. I screwed your name all the way up. But what I'm saying is,
He's
when he
not
got
listening.
drafted,
He'll be
no, when he got drafted, I suck for that. Okay, when he got
great.
drafted, his quote was, he told Caleb Williams, he won't get touched. That dude has been a turnstile.
He was touched.
He was touched. Yeah,
Or like
my
Nicholas
bad.
Placide Frere last year saying he wanted to go out there and fight somebody.
Yeah.
Well,
He-
was anyone fought?
He did.
No.
He just took a couple to the chin.
He fought
Listen,
himself.
Yeah. We should have known early on from
he
his.
did.
We did.
Yeah, my boy was out there a
Problems that did
turnstile,
not
man.
work.
But I just want to say, I think it's always bold for young offensive linemen coming to the league like that. And like my brother in Christ, that ain't how it works,
Right,
okay?
right.
You gotta get
I
on
will
Caleb
die.
Williams
Well, he
saying
might
Torrey
die for
Taylor,
it.
the Iowa punter, we won't need you much. Well, needed him quite a bit.
Yeah.
Needed him quite a bit there.
a good bit.
Chicago. It's interesting, Mike Vrabel now contradicting himself on the arm length thing because he refused to put Peter Skoronski at tackle, but now Will Campbell's a tackle with the same arm length. I mean, not the exact same, but the same exact red flag.
Yeah, I don't
it
know.
was.
And again,
But
it's hard to know who was running the show specifically
He's
this
the
whole
coach.
time.
Yeah, he
It's up
is
to
the
him.
coach. I think Will Campbell moves more like more fluid, I felt like, than Peter did. I felt like more than anything, the body movements of Peter Skoronski is why he moved into guard. It's the same way I feel about Kelvin Banks. Kelvin Banks is a college left tackle. His movements are very guard-like, not smooth, he's an athlete, but not athletic looking when you watch him move.
And Will Campbell was a 5 flat 40.
Yeah.
Peter Skoronski was a 5'18" or 5'16". Yeah, 5'18". 10-yard splits were similar on those two guys, but Will Campbell overall, with respect to Peter Skoronski, is the better athlete.
Yeah.
So they're not the exact same player.
Right.
I think is fair. For me, I think it's the Chicago Bears. Or sorry, the Bears are one of them. The list, though, I have is Philadelphia. They do it every year. Philadelphia just hands in a card to Roger Goodell before the draft even starts that says best available SEC defensive player in the first round. For where they were picking, I thought Philadelphia got some of the best value in this entire draft. They used each of their first 5 picks on defense, including a couple of guys who were either my guys or guys who were my guys, quote unquote, of people that have come on this show quite a bit. Jihad Campbell, the inside linebacker out of Alabama, is one of the steals of the entire first round. They traded up to go get him. Andrew Makuba, the safety out of Texas, is a total plug-and-play guy. So now you've got Quinyon Mitchell, you've got Cooper DeJean, you've got Andrew Makuba, all a part of that young secondary in Philly. Ty Robinson from Nebraska.
Yes.
Very athletic defensive lineman. Stoney Keeley leading up to the draft. That was one of his 3 favorite guys in the entire draft for the Titans on day 2 or 3. So they get Ty Robinson, Mac McWilliams, corner out of UCF, and then a great role player. And we talk about on day 2 and 3, you're looking for specific traits and you're looking for role players. Smile Munden, the inside linebacker out of Georgia, is a plug-and-play third-down nickel cover linebacker out of Georgia. They get 3 more SEC defensive players, plus they get a backup quarterback in Kyle McCord because they no longer have Kenny Pickett there. So they had him into a room with Tanner McKee, the BYU product, who came out just a couple of years ago. I loved what Howie Roseman in Philadelphia did, and it sickens me how they get away with this every year.
It's just, it can't keep getting away with this, Will.
I like Chicago's too, but I like Philadelphia's a little bit more. I forgot I put them on my list. So.
Yeah, and I think at this point, it's like a given that they're just going to continue to do everything they do every single year. Take risks sometimes on players, draft in terms of what they know they can, develop or put right in. It's just like a constant. And them and like the Ravens usually are in that category of like, you just know when they draft the player that it's automatically what that team is built around,
Kayla, who had the worst draft class this year?
I was going back and forth with this, but I think I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. first and foremost, I don't think that they drafted in terms of they just didn't draft the right positions, because obviously defense, offensive line was a big part of what they needed to do. But defensive end Shamar Stewart in the first round, I think that's more of a player that you could say, is he going to be a bust or is he going to be a boom? It was more of a like roll of the dice type of pick right there. And then I think they had a pair of linebackers after that you're just kind of like, okay, like that's
Demetrius Knight Jr. at 49,
yeah,
Barrett
like,
Carter at 119.
It's like, okay, that's fine and everything, but I don't know. I just feel like it was underwhelming overall for what the Bengals did. Let me see real quick when I'm looking at some of the...
Dylan Fairchild at
Dylan
81,
Fairchild,
the guard out of Georgia. Jalen Rivers, tackle out of Miami at 153. And Taj Brooks, the Texas Tech running back in the 6th round.
Because they pass on Ratledge, too, which I thought if you're going to go get somebody, why not go get him? Which I thought was interesting. And then, getting Dylan Fairchild, like you mentioned, out of Georgia. I don't know. I don't think the best decisions on the positions they could have got, if you know what I mean. I think they got the right positions, but the players, I just question.
No doubt.
I like Demetrius Knight Jr.
Yeah, that's not a bad one.
I think he is a very high floor player. Is kind of
South
a
Carolina linebacker.
C-ball, hit ball linebacker with a lot of production.
Yeah.
I like athletic edge rushers regardless of the production, but I don't know if I like them that much at the 17th overall pick.
Yeah.
For Shamar Stewart. I mean, a guy with like under 5 sacks in his college football career is quite a risk. To me, like, they better be keeping Trey Hendrickson on the other side of that defense if you're going to pair him up with someone earlier in his career.
And by the way, they did go get, I think one of my favorite picks for them was their late 6th round pick. They got Taj Brooks, the running back out of Tech.
Yep.
I thought that was like the exciting one. I get it though.
It was
when you
early draft season talk right there. Yeah, no doubt.
Ramon, who had the worst draft class this year?
Don't judge me. Okay.
You're going to go Cleveland? Really?
That's fine.
Most everyone has them as like a top 5 draft class.
Well, here's my issue with them is what is your team build up when you look at the guys that they draft? Let's start with running backs. On roster veterans, they have Jerome Ford and Pierre Strong. Right?
Mm-hmm. So not for long.
I know, but like I look at having 2 rookies come in and Quishon Judkins, they got to get picked up with the speed, and also Dylan Sampson, and say to myself, all right, you're really relying on those 2 guys as it pertains to your season this year. Now, they won as far as next year's draft with the first round pick that they picked up.
Right.
This year, with the selections that they had, I don't think they overly poured into what Myles Garrett was asking for. And what are your goals offensively? Now, yes, Mason Graham, I'm not sure what he's going to be. Me personally, I'll be salivating into all the steel plans like, hell
At the 5th pick, I mean, that certainly helps Myles Garrett.
Mm-hmm.
He got to have the right mind. He's already lost weight, and I almost say to him, I think you should probably be a little bit bigger, Mason Graham. But that's just me. The league changes all the time, but I didn't overly love their selection. We're talking about 2 quarterbacks, 2 running backs in the draft, and Harold Fannin Jr., who I don't love.
Pick 67.
Pick 67 out of Bowling Green.
Yep.
I want to see what his production looked like. Now, they do got to get to a point to where David Njoku is one of those guys that, hey, you got to start passing the baton to. Now, this may be a build-up draft to them more than it is an instant production draft for them.
Sure.
The 2 running backs, I don't hate, but I look at, hey, you really want to got Dylan Gabriel on top of Shedeur Sanders in the same draft on top of 2 running backs, too, with a D tackle.
I don't love that.
I think it signals where they are with Nick Chubb, though. Like, they needed 2 running backs.
They did.
Or they needed 1 plus Nick Chubb, so they just went ahead and got 2 running backs.
They got 2. I don't necessarily love this one, especially if Joe Flacco starting the season off as their starting quarterback, too.
We'll see. Right. I mean, Dylan Gabriel was the 3rd-round pick, but clearly we know how his teammates feel about him because all the Browns players are posting pictures of Shedeur Sanders saying, it's your turn, bud. Can't believe that for Dylan Gabriel.
And again, you talked about Mason Graham. You just met, but you would leading up to that.
Yeah,
right.
I did because I liked Mason Graham. But when you start looking at like his value and his effectiveness of his play, like, is he just a run stopper? Because he dropped weight, making me think he's going to be a pass rusher.
I like their draft, to be honest with you. And I don't like the way they handled the quarterback position with Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders both. But aside from that, I honestly love it. I mean, they have 4 guys that are going to be starters. And that, to me, is a sign of you addressed needs and you accumulated enough draft capital to do something significant to remake your starting lineup. I mean, Mason Graham's a starter. Carson Schwessinger, the linebacker out of UCLA, is a day 1 starter. Quinshon Judkins is a day one starter, and I think Harold Fannin will play enough to be considered a starting kind of tight end 2 type.
I do want to see how he translates.
I mean, I think they get credit, though, in this draft for what they did setting up the next draft. Mm-hmm. Like, to me, that goes into this year's quote-unquote grade.
Well, my mindset was this year.
Okay.
Next year's a different
Fair enough.
conversation.
And I still think the quarterback situation, that gives them a big black eye in terms of that.
Minnesota is the easy answer. They had 1 pick in the top 100, and it was a reach for Donovan Jackson.
I don't get it.
They went all in for last year. They did. Made a trade. Cam Robinson was brought in. Part of it for them. 615-737-1045. There was one GM who was very not happy about the way that hosts in his town were talking about his football team yesterday. We'll play a game of fair or foul. We'll play some interesting audio coming up next. RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Wrapping up hour one on this Tuesday. Locations at White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Make sure you get the Scooters Coffee mobile app today. Order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. 104.5 The Zone's 3HL. We'll be broadcasting live from Geodis Park, Tennessee's Big Orange Caravan, Wednesday, 3 o'clock. Tune in for exclusive interviews from Tennessee athletics, such as Josh Heupel, Rick Barnes, Kim Caldwell, and Danny White, plus new voice of the Vols, Mike Keith. You can head to 1045thezone.com/events today. That is tomorrow, 3 o'clock at Geodis Park. So Bills GM Brandon Beane has an issue with some radio hosts in Buffalo. Appearing on local station WGR 550, the Jeremy and Joe show, Brandon Beane was asked about the busyness of his draft weekend to start his interview, and he responded with some issues with what the hosts were talking about before he came on air.
I was just listening to the last few minutes of your show before I came on, waiting on here.
All right.
Sounds like 2018 all over with you guys.
Well, how so?
Well, you guys were bitching in 2018 about Josh Allen. You guys wanted Josh Rosen, and now you guys are bitching that we don't have a receiver. I don't get it. Like, we just hold on, let me talk. We just scored 30 points in a row for 8 straight games. A year ago, I get you guys asking why we didn't have receivers, but I don't understand it now. You just saw us lead the league in points when you add all the postseason. No one scored more points than the Buffalo Bills, including the Super Bowl champions. So you just saw us do it without Stephon Diggs, same group. How is this group not better than last year's group? Our job is to score points and win games. Where do we need to get better? Defense. We did that. So I get it. You got to have a show, and you got to have something to bitch about. But bitching about wide receiver is one of the dumbest arguments I've heard.
Okay. I mean, I wish you'd listened to the 2 hours and 25 minutes before that, because there's plenty of things we do like about your draft, and I find it curious the energy you're coming at us with. But I mean, that's your choice.
I get it. I'm just like, let's be realistic. Our job is not to have. It's not fantasy football, like to trot out the best receivers. You got Josh Allen. First thing you got to do is protect him. You can't have everything. You can't have Pro Bowl wide receivers and have a Pro Bowl offensive line and an all-pro quarterback and 3 great running backs. Like, you gotta pick. Sure, I'd love to play fantasy football, but there's one football, Jeremy. There's one ball. You can't give it to but so many people. So that's where I'm like, I don't understand this narrative. I felt it a little bit from a couple of the reporters and the thing. Like, our job is to score points. It doesn't matter what receivers, what quarterback, what. If you score points at the level we scored, that is winning football.
So that's GM Brandon Beane in Buffalo cooking some radio hosts. Fair or foul on the Bills GM?
I mean, I don't think you should have to come out and defend yourself. Like, he clearly, I know that a lot of people over at the Titans facility, they listen to our, radio station, not just our show, but all of the shows. And that would be so weird if Mike Borgonzi just called into the show and started reaming us. Because
it was an interview. It was the beginning of an interview.
Okay.
It wasn't just a random call-in.
But still, I just don't know if I could ever see them taking that approach. Like, they might disagree about something, but he made sure to go back around and around about the one situation where they were talking about the lack of wide receivers. I don't know. I think it's a little foul. Like, you took it a little too personal.
I'm going fair as hell. Really? You hear me? Yes, I do. Because here's the thing. I've lived this life right here. I've lived where we almost scored almost 30 points a game. In 2017, we were scoring 25 points a game. Our goal was 30. You know what happened whenever we got to the playoffs? We ended up losing because our defense wasn't where it needed to be. We ended up losing to the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think, in the first or second round of the playoffs. That was our last window right there. If your offense is doing exactly as Brandon Beane is saying, putting up 30 points, they are 30.9 points a game. If they are doing that job and you still can't get to the Super Bowl and win it, you got to restructure yourself. Clearly, the wide receivers don't matter. They did it. He said it without Stephon Diggs. They did it without Stephon Diggs, right? They traded that guy away. If that is the case, I 100% ride with him on this one. And he pretty much just saying, look, I'm trying to build a team. I'm trying to build a complete team. With that being said, you guys got to allow us to do our job, and this isn't just an overnight fix. So, yeah, I ride with what he got going on right now.
So, wide receivers they have added this offseason. They bring in Josh Palmer. Mac Hollins leaves. So, your wide receiver room is Keon Coleman, Josh Palmer, Khalil Shakir. They drafted Caden Prather in the 7th round out of Maryland. So not expected to be a major contributor within this thing. And then Amari Cooper's gone now, too. So you do have a first-round tight end, Dalton Kincaid, to go with now veteran Dawson Knox. I think it's pretty soft from Brandon Beane, to be honest with you. It comes across so sensitive. Like, okay, if you really believe in your wide receiver room, then just show us. Just show us on the field. You got months to continue to build this thing out. Like, taking issue with someone's opinion in April is just an incredibly small way to do business.
I'm so opposite on y'all on this one.
No,
I know.
I'm so opposite.
He went
I
in
am.
way too much.
No.
Like, why does he care? Like, all right, then build a better team. Like, I mean, you had a 13-win team last year. Like, it's not up to you to convince these radio hosts. Like, all that's going to do is just make these hosts want to go in on you more. Like, if you really want to get goodwill with the people that you are trying to convince, you just leave it.
You know why? Because here's the reason I'm so anti. I lost 45-42 to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Window closed. You know why he feels that way? Because the boogeyman lives in Kansas City. In the last couple of years, they've lost to them 29-32. The year before that, they lost to them 24-27. The year before that, they ended up losing to the Bengals 27-10.
Well, I'm not arguing that.
Yeah, like, I'm riding with Brandon Beane on this.
Sure, but why not do both?
Do you think?
Because you're not allowed to, because you're one of the better teams. You're in a position to where you're picking towards the back end of the draft more times than not. And there's balance to how you build up a team. The other part for me is this. Joshua Allen. He's the one that he's telling them, look, I can go get all the wide receivers you want. Matter of fact, I'm going to go get some cheap ones because we're paying him a crap ton of money. And not just that, he's making everybody better.
Yeah. I just thought he got a little too sensitive about it.
It would be interesting, if that were to happen on our show. I'm just putting ourselves in that position, like having one of the Chad Brinker or GM Mike Borgonzi on one specific subject just going in on us. Like, I don't know what I would feel in that spot. Like, I think that's a little sensitive then if you're doing that to one subject, right?
But inside of his building, that's the only point to be made. He's right.
615-737-1045. Hour 2 coming up. We'll get to Greg on the phones, plus some Vols news as one player gets a new contract and another one officially enters the transfer portal, surprisingly. That's next. What's going on? It's Will Boulding. Is your water heater not heating? Maybe your sink is leaking or the drain is clogged. Well, here for you 24/7, 365. Our expert friends at Lee Company have you covered for all of your plumbing needs. And right now, you can enjoy $30 off your next plumbing visit. Just contact Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or head online to leecompany.com for an appointment to take care of your home's plumbing from top to bottom. Again, that's $30 off your next plumbing visit at leecompany.com. Look, when you call the folks at Lee Company, you've got the best players on your team. With 14 community locations in Tennessee, Kentucky, and Alabama, Lee Company's got over 80 years of experience. They've been trusted since 1944 here in Middle Tennessee with over 1,700 employees and proud partners of a lot of things going on in our communities with Little League, with high school sports, with local events, and with the Titans and Preds as well. 615-567-1000. That's the number to call. Get $30 off your next plumbing visit at leecompany.com. That's Lee Company. All you need.
Good morning. It's 7 a.m. from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. Tennessee Titans President of Football Operations Chad Brinker and General Manager Mike Bergonzi met with the media yesterday for a post-draft press conference. They were asked about 2022 first-round draft pick Treylon Burks and if they will pick up his fifth-year option. Brinker said, quote, "We're still discussing on that, but yeah, probably not." Burks played in just 5 games last season after suffering an ACL injury in practice before the Titans' Week 7 game against Buffalo. Burks, through 3 seasons, has accumulated 699 yards receiving and just 1 touchdown in 27 games played. The deadline to make that decision on the fifth-year option is this Thursday, May 1st. And out of the NFL news this morning, per Will Compton and Taylor Wan of Bussin' with the Boys, San Francisco 49ers tight end George Kittle has signed a 4-year, $76.4 million extension with $40 million guaranteed. Kittle, at $19.1 million per year, becomes the highest-paid tight end in NFL history, surpassing Arizona's Trey McBride, who just signed his extension earlier this month at $19 million per year. In Tennessee Vol football news, Tennessee and quarterback Jake Merklinger have agreed on a new contract ahead of the 2025 season, per Pete Nakos of On3 Sports. Merklinger will get a boost in compensation, but the amount of the deal has not been disclosed. Also, Tennessee's defensive back Jacoby Thomas has entered the transfer portal, per Pete Nakos. He has visits set up with Florida and Miami coming up soon. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you have to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today. Order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. Check out one of their cinnamon rolls, their waffle breakfast sandwiches. Maybe it's just a cup of coffee. You're in, you're out. You'll scoot on down and you'll thank us later. You can check them out at White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, or Brentwood. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll get back into the Titans draft discussion. What is the biggest hole left on the Titans roster, and where do you feel the best about the team after the NFL draft? We'll go position by position with that coming up here at 7:20 this morning. But there's some Vols news yesterday. Some good, some bad. Let's start with the good news. Quarterback Jake Merklinger has inked a new contract with Tennessee ahead of the 2025 season. Former 4-star had options to enter the portal, but chose to stay in Knoxville. Pete Nakos of On3 with a report saying he had the option to hit the portal to find an immediate starting job. Are you surprised? What is your initial reaction to Merklinger getting a new contract?
I think it becomes a little bit more telling on how they feel about what he did this spring. I'm not sure if it was out there, but I heard right before the spring game he had just gotten a deal in general. He came to the University of Tennessee betting on himself. He didn't even have a deal in place, and he finally got one this offseason. Now to hear that he's re-upped again, that's big. That is a vote of confidence, I feel like, for a guy like him. And more than anything, just a situation. Guys get injured all the time. And you want to be compensated for that. I'll continually go back to the conversation of George Fant a couple of years ago when he was, to be signed as a backup. And he was like, from my understanding, because I talked to him, he was like, no, I'm not signing backup money when I'm probably going to end up starting. And he did end up starting in his other place. And the Titans did have a turnstile of guys playing that position. So I think this is appropriate. It also, to me, like I said, just justifies the market for what Merklinger is, just to show him, hey, my brother, we believe in you.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing. And I know, in this day and age, you're going to have to give money to some of these guys that, want to prove themselves that they're, going to be the quarterback. And with the whole Nico thing that was happening, I think that he was even getting rave reviews during spring.
Before the
Nico thing. And we don't know exactly how that was set up, but I tend to believe it. And we've had many people on the show, including yourself, Ramon, that said you really liked what you saw out of him in the spring. And I do think that is then, worthy in a way of now you've got to give him something extra because you did bring in Joey Aguilar, the transfer from UCLA, But let's remember, he's coming into a new offense. He's coming in late in the game. Jake Merklinger has been here. He knows the offense. I think he's comfortable with the team. So it would be a shame to, not have him be compensated for kind of the next guy up mentality, even though Joey Aguilar technically could win the spot. So I think it was a good job done by Tennessee and getting ahead of it too, and just kind of saying, hey, we're going to give you a shot. Here's some money too.
Yeah, I do think this is the challenge of things that people don't often know are happening because guys in spring, there is enough competition for them to ask for a raise through practices. And even with taking spring games kind of out of the equation more, coaches are still dealing with this. I still don't like this. I understand it. I think it's kind of a net neutral for Tennessee. They'll avoid another disaster at the end of the spring portal at quarterback. But like we need lengths of deals that prevent guys from doing this after like 15 practices. I mean, I'm all for guys getting paid, but Jake Merklinger has still not started a football game yet, and he's going back for another deal. Like, to me, it's a bit of a challenge to understand why we live in this world in college football. And I don't know why we do. There are no rules. Like, the NCAA was behind, and there are, no guardrails around any of this. But I'm not a huge fan.
But here's the other part, though. For me, I think his pathway is I'd support that one way more than what a kid out of high school. Like, I'm not trashing Nico. I'm just saying, like, to give him $8 million up front with sight unseen, with the projection that he could be good, and then to fall back and say, ugh. Like, we didn't get all of our ROI on that one. Not even a little bit. Not even a quarter of what you thought. Like, and to me, again, I think it says this. If you come to the university, any university, you show your loyalty, if that's still a thing. You show that you're willing to work. You show that you get better, and you're presented with an opportunity right now that I'm sure he didn't see that. Like, Merklinger didn't see this happening. I think this is a market correction for a guy that had $0 coming into Tennessee at that time. Like,
well, he's getting paid something.
No, he did not. He got absolutely nothing to come to the University of Tennessee. He betted on himself. And that is a fact right there. He had no deal in place. So for me, I feel like this is the pathway that you want. This is Amari Thomas to me. This is Boo Carter. Like, that's where it is for me in his process.
If he was getting nothing, if he's going from zero to this, then sure.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Absolutely. It's the same way, too, as one of the premier edge guys that Tennessee had as of recently. Yeah. Came to Tennessee with $75,000. When he balled out, he got $750,000. Sure.
Outside of my feelings about how all this goes down, I do think the reality is Tennessee has more faith in him than they did, A, going into spring, and B, I do think he has a better chance to win the starting job than most people think he does, Merklinger.
Yeah.
Like, I'd put it at maybe a 45% chance that he's the guy and a 55% chance that Joey Aguilar is the guy with no, like, and again, like, it's probably even malpractice for me putting a number on it because Joey Aguilar's not even on campus. Like, we have no clue what Joey Aguilar is going to look like the first day he steps on campus to start practicing with Tennessee. So we're just guessing at this point. Jacoby Thomas did enter the transfer portal. Tennessee defensive back has visits set up with Florida and Miami after officially entering the portal yesterday. On 3's Pete Nakos with that report as well. On the Vol Club Confidential in November, this was Jacoby Thomas. Quote, I've always dreamed of being here, so I take advantage of every moment I get to be in Neyland Stadium as a player. I know my time here is short, probably like everyone else's. Just being able to embrace the environment and watch the stands fill up, it just helps me get my mood and my mojo going. I don't like to be dressed up for too long anyway. Talk about going through the Vol Walk. Guy grew up a Tennessee fan, hometown guy, 1 year transfer portal.
Wonder what changed. Money, I know, helped facilitate this.
Money.
But
money.
I'm sure he would have been able to get something more at Tennessee as pertains to, hey, you're a known starter. You know the defense already. Not just that. Like, that defense was monstrous last year. It's confusing, but this one to me is more of the business. Like, it's clear to me that I feel like most of the guys that get on Vol Confidential, those are the dudes that have already gotten what they want as far as NIL goes. This late in the game is fascinating to me. This is the world where I hate this more than almost anything. But Miami got a bag, and it's Miami, and the taxes is the same as far as Tennessee and Florida goes too. It's the ACC. I don't want to say he's ducking smoke because guys go to other divisions and still get drafted.
Think he just wants a raise?
Yeah, and I just hate it that it's this late in the game that you're like, oh, okay, well, everything I've settled in. Like I'm gonna be a big part of this defense. Like I'm getting money here, right? And now you're just like, well, actually, how about a couple million more? And again, I don't know what the money being offered would be, but this is why just the transfer portal in general and the timing of the transfer portal is trash. And this is why eventually you got to put a cap on some of this. Not the money, but just how to go about the process of it. Because it not only, hurts the Vols, but I think for him going in late to a program doesn't necessarily help him either.
He just gets paid.
He just gets paid. You're exactly right.
Yep.
Who even says he's going to have a stellar season?
It don't matter if he leaves college with $500,000 in the bank.
Yeah.
I think we are watching a lot of college football players who know that at best they are really good college football players maximize their market value as much as they can, knowing that their ceiling is maybe practice squad. Honestly.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to totally blame the player for that because I think there are plenty of players who know this is my money-making opportunity as a football player and I can give my family like potential generational wealth by maximizing it as much as I can now. It's up to the adults in the room, of which there are not many in college football, to just do away with the spring portal. There's no reason why we need a spring transfer portal. Absolutely none.
Yeah.
Absolutely none. There needs to be one transfer portal in between the two windows that we have now. And do it like the NFL schedules free agency a month after the Super Bowl. I mean, we should be in the month of February because we don't care about classes when it's the spring portal. We don't care about switching schools now the way it is currently constructed.
Right.
Like switch to a model where you're doing OTAs and spring practice in June because you're not doing spring games anymore anyway. So do that after the second semester. Take away spring ball. Make it OTAs leading up to June, and you have one window in the month of February or March, and that's it. Because, A, we shouldn't be doing this earlier than we're doing it now. We shouldn't be doing this during the postseason. It's the only sport where the player acquisition cycle happens during the postseason. Think about that. Imagine if Major League Baseball teams were, like, making trades for next year during the October playoffs. Like, imagine the Packers are going to play the Vikings in the first round of the NFC divisional round, and they just actually their backup quarterback just left. So now they got to bring up a practice squad quarterback because their backup now is actually in Minnesota. Like, in what other world is this happening? In no other world this is happening. So anyway, it's totally messed up.
We got
messed. And it's not just a Tennessee problem. This is a problem for everyone.
It's young athletes that just got to campus in December
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
that have hopped in the portal
Exactly.
in April.
And not just ones with the last name Maliava.
No.
Greg is up next to the phones. Promise we get him in here during this segment. Talk about Femi Oladejo. What's up, Greg?
Hey, guys, when we talked a couple months ago, we talked about all the holes the Titans had, and I felt like they did a really good job at least filling a bunch of them through the draft. So I like the draft. But I got to admit, I don't like the Femi pick because they traded back, right, and then they went with Femi, which was a bit of a reach to me. So that's kind of counterintuitive. Do you guys think if they passed on Femi at 52, he still would have been there at 82? Because I really do. I mean, he was not graded that high as far as his position goes. Now, I get they got their board, they got their traits, they're going to stick to that, but I would have loved to have Trey Harris there.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate the call. I do not think he would have been there at 82. Femi Oladejo, the consensus big board, is a big board of each player's big board ranking from a bunch of different media top 50s and top 100s and top 150s all around the league. The Titans picked Oladejo at 52. He was 57th on the consensus big board, and there was already a run happening on edge rushers. He would not have been there at 82.
Yeah, and I get his point. There's been a lot of controversy about this pick because of maybe the lack of production in college, with the sacks. But that's not necessarily, again, what they're looking for right out of the gate. They're looking for development with this guy that has a high ceiling. He's super athletic. He knows the Denard Wilson defense, so he will play right away. And I do think they feel they can develop him into a more productive edge player.
Go look at Kansas City's drafts. We talked through it on break a little bit. This is what Kansas City does.
Yep.
There are so many guys on that roster right now that you say, yup, that guy turned into something. That guy turned. They go for, as he said yesterday, the high ceiling guys that got to develop.
Yep.
What is the biggest hole left on the Tennessee Titans roster, and where do you feel the best about the Titans after the NFL draft. We'll go position by position, talk about the concerns and the strengths coming up next.
We love being part of the moments that matter, which is why we're announcing employee pricing for everyone. You pay what we pay. Employee pricing at Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned, American made.
It's Ramon Foster for the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Good people, right now they are giving you 47% off non-surgical spinal decompression treatment, y'all. It is the big 47 offer for 2025. They are offering it right now. Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Asher will not give up on you, man. When it comes to back and knee pain, Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Asher are in the trenches fighting and to help you win that battle of pain. You guys know how it goes, man. You know your back is hurting. You know your neck is hurting. You know your knees got issues, man. But here's a place that can get it done for you. It's the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They have the top-of-the-line equipment, too. They strive to make sure when you walk in, you know you're going to be treated properly. With their lasers and the state-of-the-art spinal decompression machines, even their zero-gravity machines, I lay in those things, and they are good, too. Got an appointment tomorrow. Listen to me. You don't have to deal with that pain continuously like that. Go visit my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. You can call them today at 615-246-5009 or go to painisbad.com.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone is brewed by Scooters Coffee with locations at White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Titans making a front office hire. According to a report this morning from Paul Kaharski, the Titans are expected to hire Dan Sagany. I may be butchering that name. Cleveland Browns Director of Player Personnel in a high-level scouting role soon. This comes after the Titans parted ways with Director of Scouting A.J. Highsmith after one season. So the Titans adding to the front office, adding to the scouting staff. It is not uncommon for a new general manager to continue through the draft process with the old scouts and then bring in their guys after the draft process is over. Titans declined to comment on any personnel moves yesterday because things are not yet finalized. So there you go. A little headline this morning. Where do you feel good or bad about this Tennessee Titans roster at this point? Is there a clear strength, guys? We're just starting with all the positives on this Tuesday. Is there a clear place on this roster, Kayla, where you feel good about where they are today?
I'd say running back. I said this last year, and I feel like I continue to feel confident about it, and it worked out for the most part well last year. Now, most in part because Tony Pollard was a huge addition, and I think we got more production out of Pollard than we thought we were going to get. Unfortunately, Tajay Spears hit last year by some concussions. I truly believe Tajay Spears is putting in the work and will bounce back this year. Hopefully he can stay healthy. But you've got those two. You brought in Julius Chestnut again, gave him a little bit of money, right? And then you have Kyle. Is that?
Kalel.
I got to get that right.
Superman.
Kalel Mullings. And I love that addition. I think he's a little bit more developmental, but he can instantly be a help on special teams. And then I think he can grow into a spot where he is the third guy, maybe even over training camp.
Micah Bernard, Jabari Small, the other two guys in that room, a total of 6 just off the top to begin rookie minicamp and the offseason stuff and things like that. It does feel like, again, running back is where you can feel the best about where this team is. Exactly like we did a year ago.
Yep.
I think Mullings will make the team. I think Kalel Mullings is your new Julius Chestnut.
I like him.
Former linebacker, has over 20 tackles as a Michigan Wolverine, can be a special teams tackler as well. You've also replaced Chestnut in the kick return game, I think, with Chimere Dike.
For sure.
Who I think is your new return specialist if he can just hold on to the ball, which is always a big question mark with return guys when they come in. But I think Mullings has a role to play as the thumper on this roster.
I do too. That's going to be a nice switch up before you get to that 4-minute ball, and a guy like him, he's also shown that he's got breakaway speed. Now, if he gets hawked down in the NFL, we'll see what that looks like. But yeah, he's got that in him though.
Where else do you feel good on this roster, Ramon?
The O-line. Left to right, I love what the starters is going to turn into. Yeah, no, for real. It just feels mature. Even the experience of only having JC in his second year. A lot of people were clamoring last year or making the argument that JC should have been a right tackle. Your team wasn't built to allow him to be a right tackle last year. Settle him in where he's played most of his college career at to be the guy that you want. On your right side of your line, you got a run side and you got a protection side. Peter may not have been the best run blocker last year. It was serviceable, but you knew his pass pro was going to be good. Shoring up Dan Moore on the left side is going to be one of those things. Trust me. I vouch for him. I stand by that vouch too. He's got to make sure that he's not giving up that many sacks as it pertains to what he did last year. I can admit that that's something that he's got to fix. Now, I trust what Coach Bill Callahan should be able to do to maybe help tweak his style, but not just the starting 5. And Lloyd, I got confidence that he should make it back.
So Peter Skronsky last year, according to Pro Football Focus, a 76.3 pass blocking grade. He allowed 4 sacks, many of those at the very beginning of the season. He ranked 12th out of all guards in pass blocking in the NFL last season. So he is on schedule to live up to where he was picked as a pass blocker going into year 3. Run blocking, not so much. Like you mentioned, 54.3 run block grade from PFF, which again has an imperfect process when evaluating linemen. But that ranks him 107th out of 136 guards.
Yeah. And you think about this too. He's a natural tackle. Pass protection comes right for him. Moving inside to to guard, starting to fight, understanding angles, bodies, and stuff like that is a little bit different moving from tackle to guard. So this year 3 jump is what I'm hoping for.
After week 3, Peter Skronsky allowed 2 sacks. One of them was week 18 in that game against Houston. That was essentially a glorified preseason game.
Yeah.
For lack of a better term.
I think we need to not be underrating the depth of these positions either, because with this position offensive line, they have done the work to really add depth at this position and also in the draft. So I think that's what I come into play saying these positions I feel good at and not good at is the depth part too, because I think that goes underrated sometimes.
Well, and two, the guys who last year were slated as potential starters are now third strings.
Yeah, exactly.
Jalen Duncan is still your backup left tackle, but Blake Hance is behind J.C. Latham. That's a guy who started in his time in the NFL. Oli Udoh, Sam Mustipher are two guys who have started games and done so at a decently, a decent clip, right? Like Jackson Slater, you bring in, you believe in him as a backup guard. You're not relying on him to play this season. Finally.
Right.
Yep.
You finally drafted a backup lineman who shouldn't have to be thrown into the fire because you have enough options to allow those guys to marinate. And Don Davenport made a good point yesterday on 3HL. When you are a small school lineman, there is a bigger learning curve than if you are, say, a small school defensive back or wide receiver. Because the game in the trenches at the SEC and Big Ten level is very different than the game in the trenches, heck, even at the ACC level. I mean, that is what separates the SEC still from everyone else. Everyone else is caught up in terms of their skill players, not yet at offensive line and defensive line as much. Ramon, you're laughing at me.
I am, because you mentioned Bath saying that. Nothing she hates more, okay? Now, somebody's on the left lane. Somebody's
in the left lane and an FCS lineman who has to play right away. And I still do think
I feel her on there.
I still think there's a world where Dylan Radins could have been successful if he'd played his senior year at North Dakota State.
Sure. That's a big part of it.
Like, he was always playing catch-up.
Yeah.
Always playing catch-up in the NFL. And he also had Keith Carter as his O-line coach.
We'll see how Gray Zabel does up in Seattle.
Gray Zabel?
He's another one.
Well, he played last year.
No, exactly.
The COVID year made that totally different.
Right.
Totally different. Yeah. I feel good about the secondary, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Kevin Winston Jr. coming into that safety room. Right now, Jarvis Brownlee, L'Jarius Sneed, Roger McCreary, your starting corners. Darrell Baker was, I think, an unsung hero of this entire defense last season.
Did not get enough credit.
At the corner position. Again, Marcus Harris is a backup nickel player. Gabe Giudicelli, who this coaching staff, I think, had decent feelings about last year, at least decent enough to keep him around and keep him on the roster for this year. But again, you have guys who were starting last year who are back to backup roles, who are depth pieces. Mike Brown is a backup safety again. Julius Wood is a special teamer and third stringer at this point. I feel better about that spot than I did. If L'Jarius Sneed is available and healthy and, clean enough in terms of the off-field stuff to play.
And I think that's what I'm riding on, too. Like, I feel way better if he's ready to go from the start. Because, again, he did not participate in training camp last year. He was just, not really available. And so I think if he's available, it changes the whole outlook of that room. And I know there's depth.
I'm not counting on him to be available for training camp, though.
Why is that?
That's kind of just
because that's just his plan. Like, he was healthy last year at training camp. They managed him and didn't put him in there because they wanted to keep him healthy, and he didn't stay healthy.
The biggest question mark of this group, though, which I agree with you, I think that group is better. It's more numbers. It's more numbers that you feel like you can count on going into the offseason. But the ace in the hole to me is Jarvis Brownlee.
Mm-hmm. You got to take a step forward.
Yeah.
Him as a cornerback 2, I believe enough in.
Me too.
As long as he doesn't have to be quarterback 1, I feel pretty good about where we're at with Jarvis Brownlee.
And something I saw on the field, checking his emotions. Every play is the same to you. Good plays, bad plays, not being over the top with it. The passion is good. Most DBs go with that. But, show me that in your play and not out after the play is where I'm at with a guy like him. The growth. Again, he had to stake his claim last year is the way you look at that one. He had to come in and show that he belonged in this NFL.
Before we get to our biggest concerns of the Titans roster, let's go to the phones where Craig has been waiting patiently to chime in. 615-737-1045. What's up, Craig?
In the 2025 NFL draft, the Tennessee Titans did a great job. I mean, overall, what can we say? The starters go in the starter position, the backups go in the backups. The people that they brought in, the unrestricted free agents, every person drafted inside is a new face of the franchise. And also, since we're critiquing positions, I guess I'll go with offensive linemen, not for better or for worse. I'm just saying we'll take all we can get because the new stand block and they will score.
Yes, sir.
Nice.
I like that.
Thank
you, Craig.
I like that, Craig.
He even set it
positivity.
up very well.
Craig, I appreciate it. That was a good call.
Should have played the dun 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 dun.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun. Did a great job. Okay.
It did a
Very
great
nice.
job. How long have we heard? How many times have we heard that since
Not-
we've been doing
not
this
much.
show?
All right, well, let's turn in some negativity then, shall we? What's the biggest hole left in the Titans roster, Ramon?
I roll. And it's just because it's sight unseen, but I'm going wide receiver.
Okay.
It's probably the most unlikeliest of it. One, you know what Calvin is, but you also understand how Calvin's role in the offense is going to be for the most part, right? He's the guy that's down the sideline, those transcontinentals that Coach Mack speak about. But it's also just more than just him, though. It is. How do you get Tyler Lockett involved when you know you got to go to 1 or 2? And with a rookie quarterback that we expect to be the day one starter in that situation, too, where's the rest of your co-workers are going to be when it comes down to it? Are you going to rely heavily on the wide receivers, tight ends? Like, I look at this spot and say, when it comes to Chim DK, right, you know what he's capable of. When you look at guys that has been around this roster more than a year or two, you understand how they are. Like, we spoke about a little bit yesterday, like sifting through who are the guys that are in that bottom 3 of trying to make this 7-man, potentially 8-man roster. Like, we got guys that potentially going to end up playing special teams, but my biggest question is not necessarily can you throw and pitch, but who scares you enough to where your team can go out and spread the field out a little bit more?
Sure.
Like
it's unproven.
It's the fear factor to me when it comes down to that position. I do believe when you have premier guys, DK Metcalf, when Odell Beckham was doing his things, Stephon Diggs, and now, like you say to this team, does Calvin scare you? Does an older gentleman in Tyler Lockett scare you? And if that's not the case, then how reliant are you going to be on the young rookies that you just drafted?
You don't have DK Metcalf, but you have Chimray DK.
You do.
Yeah, right.
You know what I'm saying?
And that is your field stretcher.
I always
and
think when
we're
you
going to
say
listen to Mike Bergonzi here in a minute talk about that. But they, quote unquote, reached in terms of what we think publicly for DK because he is a field stretching wide receiver. And on day 3, you're looking for traits. That's why you get more variation in where teams value different things on day 3 of the draft, but they like his ability to take the top off the defense.
Yeah.
Question is, can he do it at a high level right away? Because he's going to be asked to.
And that too, but also can Cam do it? Like, I know he's got the skill set, but like who's more reliant upon who? The wide receivers rely on the quarterback or vice versa? And that's where that relationship, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's where that relationship of, okay, who's going to be the guy comes into play for me.
Kayla, what's the biggest hole in the Titans roster?
I said it yesterday. I'll stick with it again. Inside linebacker. I just think the problem here, guys, and I understand people are excited about the Cody Barton ad. I think it's a great ad. I think it's obviously he's a starter on this team. The issue I have, guys, with this spot is besides Cody Barton, experience-wise, you do not have a lot of experience at this position, and you do not have a lot of depth with experience. I say that in saying that right now, what you have besides Cody Barton, Otis Reese, yes, he's played some games. He's been okay for them. But how much are we really counting on him to be a solid starter for this team? Behind Cody Barton also, Cedric Gray. Love the guy. I think he has potential, but I'm telling you guys, last year, he went through a lot of trials and tribulations in his mind in terms of being ready for the speed of this game, and he admitted to that. He had the shoulder injury. He's going to have to prove a lot this year, guys. I know that you want to still think he has it, and I want to think that too, but we can't just bet on that. And then James Williams, he's a converted linebacker coming from the safety spot out of Miami. He still has a lot to prove. Please tell me how you feel comfortable with the linebacker spot with so much unprovenness in even depth-wise.
Yeah. It's a great point. And I think as of today, Otis Reese is the starter next to Cody Barton.
Yep.
I think they really like Otis Reese.
I know they do. Yeah. Otis he's what you want if he can stay healthy. Latter part of the season can stay on the field.
I would rather him come in as the third inside linebacker, where you don't have to rely on a recently undrafted inside linebacker to start right away. Not right away. I mean, he's been in the league for a couple of years at this point, but still early in his career. And same with James Williams. Like, as of right now, James Williams is your third down cover linebacker in nickel sets.
Right.
That's a bit of a red flag for me. I think he can grow into that. I'd rather not rely on him to be that in year 2 of his NFL career as a day 3 draft selection.
Yep.
as a converted safety.
Yeah.
Like, it's asking a lot of a really young linebacker to play a really important role against some pretty good pass offenses in your division.
Mm-hmm.
This is where player and coach got to be on the same page of development, too.
Yeah, it is.
Like, and I only bring that up because we've talked a lot about, like, the coaches that are inside that building, like Frank Bush and the linebackers. I expect, I'll be quite honest with you, an expedited process of growing up.
And he's like the Bill Callahan of linebackers.
Right.
He's one of the best linebacker coaches in the league.
There was just so many moments last year with that spot with guys going in and out of the, because obviously was it Baker?
Daryl Baker.
Daryl Baker.
Well, he's a corner.
No, the other Baker last year that they got rid of eventually. Jerome Baker, yes, because they got rid of Cedric Gray, which you wish now you would have had him, but you did get a pick for him. So there was a lot of, and there was injuries in that room. It was a very weird thing last year that you couldn't even really see development of a lot of these guys because there was so much going on.
Mm-hmm. Titans did sign a priority undrafted free agent out of Texas at inside linebacker in David Benda. Who is someone that was getting a little bit of buzz on social media the other day. Again, undrafted free agent, rookie. I'm not relying on David Benta to save the inside linebacker position, but I do think that is a name to watch, who played a lot of snaps at Texas. And
sure,
I don't know. We'll see. Certainly not someone that's going to fix everything, but sixth-year linebacker who played in 52 games and was a very highly touted recruit, Under Armour All-American out of high school. In Katy, Texas. So just, I think, a name to remember there. To me, it's D-line. It's just front seven in general, but it's D-line. I mean, these are all your defensive linemen. Sebastian Joseph Day, Devondre Sweat, Jeffrey Simmons, Keandre Coburn, and Anderson Abdullah, and then 3 undrafteds on your depth chart right now. Cam Horsley, Devontae O'Malley, and Isaiah Rakes.
Yeah.
I don't think they are done adding inside linebackers or D-linemen. They're going to have to continue getting some level of production from guys who aren't currently on the roster and still at edge. Like Femi Oladejo is being asked as a developmental prospect to start in year 1, potentially. But your top 3 outside linebackers are Femi Oladejo, Arden Key, and Draymond Jones. I need one more.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of options. I mean, you're shopping in the Tyus Bowser. Zadarius Smith is probably your best option. Preston Smith's out there. Matt Judon's out there. Shaq Thompson. Like, it's a little bleak
Pittsburgh
at outside linebacker.
Lot from
no,
Preston,
they did not.
From Preston last year.
You're looking at a guy that's going to maybe be a 3 or 4 sack contributor at this point.
A pick and choose rusher.
Similar to what you got in Lorenzo Carter.
Yeah.
Just another Lorenzo Carter to just kind of throw into the room to be a warm body.
That, to me, is where I'm fascinated to see this next phase of Titans more than anything. Like, who are going to be the guys that grow into stars?
Yeah.
Open for your reaction. Where are you most excited or most concerned about the Titans roster? 615-737-1045. Plus, why the Titans brought in receivers to specifically match Cam Ward's style of play. We'll hear from GM Mike Borgonzi next. Tuesday morning, RKW, brewed by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Locations at White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. So Mike Bergonzi yesterday talked about wide receiver types and how they fit with Cam Ward. We asked the question before the break, where do you feel good or not good on the Titans post-draft roster? And you can join in at 615-737-1045. I still am kind of on the fence about what they have at wide receiver. Because there are still a lot of unproven commodities catching passes from your new rookie quarterback. This was Bergonzi yesterday on what they liked in Tyler Lockett plus other wide receivers because of how they fit skill-wise with Cam Ward.
Yeah, well, going back to Lockett, he's a guy that, a lot of extended plays that Cam has, or any of these quarterbacks really when they work outside the pocket. Tyler's one of those guys that you can just find those open areas in those scramble drills, and you saw that over the years with Russell as well. DK is a guy that can stretch the field. Alex is a bigger receiver. Is productive in the red zone, big catch radius, and then Gunnar Helm that we took as well too. Big savvy route runner. Good in the red zone. Also, provides a quarterback a big catch radius as well, and he's got good run after the catch too.
So that's Mike Bergonzi yesterday. I like the comparison of, hey, we want Tyler Lockett to run those same scramble drill plays that he was running with Russell Wilson for so many years.
And that's why I kind of feel like that, as much as we thought of that as, he's 30-something, let's not look too much into it. I truly feel like this might be one of the best ads in free agency that they had, that they waited for, because, again, he's been shown to be healthy. Like, that's not an issue, even with he's 30 years old plus. He's been on the field. And, yeah, he wasn't as productive last year as he has been in years past, but I think, he will add so much of a comfort for a guy like Cam Ward, who is so young. And, he can do, you talked about last year or yesterday, Will, just playing slot. No, he can go on the outside as well. And he kind of can be that guy in a need. And I think that is going to be really helpful, at least to begin Cam Ward's career here, until he starts feeling also comfortable with some of these other guys that he has.
Oh, for sure. I'm just interested to see what the offense is going to look like more than anything. Because he's mentioning these big catch radius guys, and we've discussed the type of guys that they look like they're employing, right, to be Cam Ward's wide receivers. And it seems to me it's a little bit more improv to what he's going to be allowed to do. And that really, it doesn't scare me at all, because there's a lot to be had out of those moments right there. But you got to be real direct and precise with the ball when you got guys that are moving in different spots than where they're supposed to be at in those moments. It gives not a feel, and I say this not directly saying it, but it gives a feel almost of, okay, we're not where we want to be at, so let's run the wing T. You know what I'm saying? As far as the passing game goes, more than anything, because who do you trust to go win a route 7 out of 10 times, right? Who do you trust to be able to get open at the drop of a dime, right, for your offense? And I bring up AJ because AJ Brown brings that to Philadelphia. Who here does that for you? So it seems to me the allowance of him being able to improv and being able to be a gunslinger and play backyard football, which I play backyard football. It's fun. It can be, but you got to have the offensive line that understands you got to block a little bit longer. Guys got to be a little bit more creative. And I'm not saying wing to your offense. What I'm saying is you got to be able to, you survive until you get to where you want to be as an offense.
You build this thing for the long term.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't just survive in the short term. Build up Cam Ward in the way you want him to be playing for years to come.
Yeah.
Which is why we're this first year, give him a little grace, because, and, you got to kind of give this team grace, and we're admitting it too, that this is not just hey, they're adding pieces to be ready to go now. There is going to be a growth process with a lot of parts to this team, but including your rookie quarterback. But he has to improve. That's the other thing. Callahan has to be a part of this too, where he's got to improve as a player from start to finish to feel good about this year one.
Lockett last season, 545 snaps out wide, 215 in the slot. He's not really a slot receiver at this point in his career, Lockett. It's not the way he's really been used. He is an out wide guy. Right now, I think
gets down.
Ridley and Tyler Lockett are out wide, and Chimere DK is your slot.
Yeah.
As of today.
Yeah, 100%.
Also makes things challenging for Xavier Restrepo to get on the field as the undrafted guy because he's got a lot of bodies ahead of him. I know Cam Ward's chemistry with Restrepo is well documented. Cam Ward's not going to be throwing to Restrepo much in practice.
Nope.
Like rookie minicamp, he will be, yeah. Training camp, I mean, I think Tim Boyle is going to be throwing to Xavier Restrepo.
Thank you.
Like, I don't understand this idea that, those two are just going to immediately pick up where they left off. Like, if Cam is with the twos at worst, let's say, at the beginning of all this, like, Elikiah Manner's probably your second guy. Like, Traylon Burks is probably with the twos. Like, that's who Cam Ward's going to be throwing to at first.
Yeah, 100%. And it's funny, I'm glad you said that, too, because I think we immediately see teammate, chemistry. It doesn't work like that. This is a new offense also for both of them, and it comes down to, one, the numbers, and also not just the numbers. In the NFL, we speak about the pay.
Yeah.
The pay says Calvin Ridley's supposed to be his number one guy that he's falling in love with, and then you find the pecking order from that. Now, clutch moments, it may be a little bit different, right? All right, this guy's good in these moments. It's a little bit different if Calvin's being double teamed or something like that, but there will be a delegation of who goes with what group, and that's what Restrepo. If he feels like, hey, this is my comeback tour and all that type of stuff and being undrafted, and you didn't run a 4.8, I only joke about that because I ran a 5.5, 5.6, okay? So I can feel like it's okay to say that. Then show us. He going to have to climb a long ladder to get up into those ones, man.
And I think he could do it. He's a dog, no doubt about it. But I think you have to separate him and Cam in this process. I don't think it's healthy to put them together because Cam needs to learn how to grow with his receivers now at this level with the receivers that are his 1, 2s, and 3s. I mean, when you've got a guy like Calvin Ridley who struggled to find that, consistency with Will Levis earlier on in the season and in training camp, you need to worry about building the chemistry with those guys first. You have it with Restrepo, right? And if he makes the team and if he's one of those receivers, there's no doubt about it that they'll probably be able to pick up from where they left off. But right now, you got to kind of separate these two in terms of their process and how they develop because they need to develop in their own different ways.
Yes or no? Do you think Xavier Restrepo makes the roster?
Yes.
Out of camp?
No.
I lean yes. But again, it's April the 29th. These guys have not even put on a practice jersey yet. Way too early to have an educated opinion on any of it.
And it's not because of Cam, just because of his own work.
Oh, yeah. No, I don't think anybody was saying that. It just... he's got a long jam.
No, just that connection. Yeah, everyone's like, he'll make the roster because of the No, I think he'd make the roster because of the work he puts in.
615-737-1045. Mike Bergonzi, interesting comments on the Titans' new type. We'll play you what he had to say next.
It's Ramon Foster for Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical. Good people, they have been around and in business since 1990. I always brag on companies that are family-owned and operate, especially when they're local, too, man. This is a company that I trust. I feel like I want to force you to trust them, but they're really good at what they do, okay? And here's the cool part about it. Hiller takes care of every customer on every job every single time. So when they stand by their work, their motto is, happy you'll be able to service it free. If a customer isn't pleased with the work performed, they will make it right. Cool part, too, I'll add this. There's a bonus. Hiller offers you true transparency pricing. What this means is every part of the job is lined out up front. So homeowners can understand what they're paying for. Why? As expensive as stuff is these days, you don't need to be paying for stuff that they've hidden in the call sheet. Absolutely not at all. Listen, to book with a company that I trust, simply visit happyhiller.com. Genesis Diamonds is your destination for the best Mother's Day gift. I've gotten them a couple times from there, too. But this year, get her something that is timeless, meaningful, special. Genesis has put together an incredible selection of Mother's Day gifts that are both affordable and stylish. Layered necklaces, stackable rings, eternity band, colored gemstone pieces, heirloom quality jewelry. diamond bracelets, and earrings. These are pieces of jewelry she can wear anywhere from Target to the theater, all right? And she can enjoy them for years to come, too. Dinner out is nice. A thoughtful card is important, too. But if you really want to let mom know what she means to the family, bring her home something from Genesis. How about a birthstone ring or something elegant from Takori? Genesis non-commissioned experts can help you pick out the perfect gift and stay in budget. Or if you really want to splurge, check out Genesis' amazing selection of ladies' pre-owned Rolex watches also. So whether it's her first Mother's Day or her 60th, mom deserves a gift that's anything but ordinary. Go see my friends at Genesis Diamonds and Luxury Pre-Owned Rolex. They're located in Green Hills and Cool Springs.
Good morning. It's 8:01 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. Tennessee Titans president and of football operations Chad Brinker and general manager Mike Borgonzi met with the media yesterday for a post-draft press conference. They were asked about 2022 first-round pick wide receiver Treylon Burks and if they will pick up his fifth-year option. Brinker said, quote, "We're still discussing on that, but yeah, probably not. The deadline to make a decision on that fifth-year option is this Thursday, May 1st. Also, the Titans, per Paul Kowarski this morning, are expected to hire former Cleveland Browns director of player personnel Dan Sagany in a high-level scouting role. The news comes after the Titans and A.J. Highsmith part ways yesterday following just one season as the Titans director of scouting. In other NFL news, per Will Compton and Taylor Lewan of Bussin' with the Boys this morning, San Francisco 49ers tight end George Kittle has signed a 4-year, $76.4 million extension. Kittle now becomes the highest-paid tight end in the NFL, surpassing Arizona's Trey McBride, who just signed a 4-year, $76 million extension earlier this month. In Tennessee Vol football news, Tennessee and quarterback Jake Merklinger have agreed on a new contract ahead of the 2025 season, per Pete Nakos of On3 Sports. Merklinger is getting a boost in compensation, but the amount of the deal has yet to be disclosed. Also, Tennessee defensive back Jacoby Thomas officially entered the transfer portal on Monday, and per Pete Nakos, he has visits set with Florida and Miami. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you have to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second half of the show here already on RKW, brewed by Scooters Coffee. Locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Download the Scooters Coffee mobile app today. Order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. And we remind you to join the Zone for a live taping of The Install with Greg Cosell, hosted by Buck Rising, with special guest Titans head coach Brian Callahan at the Analog at Hutton Hotel this Friday, breaking down the draft class. Questions and analysis from the head coach. And you'll have food, drinks, and a limited number of tickets are still available. To purchase them, head to 1045thezone.com. They will be discussing the Titans draft class on Friday night, a class put together by GM Mike Bergonzi, who yesterday had this to say about the type that the Titans valued in the pre-draft process.
Well, like I said, they all have developmental things that they have to go through here. But then once you start getting into the mid to later rounds and some of these guys, you're looking at some traits, speed at the receiver position with Ellick and DK. And, Marcus Harris is a guy that played really one big year of football at Cal. But you saw the traits on film, the quick twitch athlete that can develop. And the same thing with Mullings, too. You're looking at a guy that played linebacker for 2 years when he first came in, and really last year was really his first really workload of carrying the football. But you saw a big body there that runs hard, and you saw a lot of upside with him, and we were able to get him later on the 6th.
Upside and guys that love football. Speed at the wide receiver position, certainly another thing they prioritized. If these guys can catch, I feel really good about the athleticism and just overall speed at wide receiver for the first time in a very, very long time for this Titans team.
Yeah, they needed it, and I think they knew they needed it. So you attempted last year in free agency to try to get some guys that can open it up for you a little bit more. But as we can see, this is a long process when it comes down to you getting your types. Like hearing Borgonzi and them speak yesterday in chat, you can tell they've sat down and kind of mapped out the types that they're going after. I know the big, fat, strong. Like that, honestly, is a stock answer when it comes down to it because everybody wants that to be a part of it. But, like, looking at specifically the types of guys that they brought in, you got captains. You got guys that have played multiple positions. You got guys that have been in roles before. And you got dudes that have made plays also. And not in a superstar way. And I think it's because there is room left to be had when it comes down to it. Like, I talked a little bit yesterday about, like, some guys come into this, and that's just what they're going to be. Right? The 3-star guys, where I think a lot of, like, growth happens from college when you get to college, making it all the way through. The 5-star guys definitely have their special just point and saying, hey, you've always been this good. It seems to me that this group has found guys that got a higher ceiling, that are workers, that are leaders, that are, hey, lunch pail guys. And I somewhat hate that term sometimes, but it seems to me that they have those types this year.
And I think guys that, mentioning all of that, Ramon, that are willing to come in and put in the work. I mean, it's going to be a lot. Like, let's not forget, this is not a great team right now. And they are relying on some of these young pieces to be starters this year. And we just mentioned 2 of those guys in terms of the wide receivers in DK and Ayu Manor. So I think those are guys that are going to be expected to help Cam's growth as well. And we brought this up several times during the draft process of you want Cam to be able to grow with some of these young wide receivers. Yeah, it's great to have some vets in there to help him and to be a blanket in some ways, but you really want that growth with the young guys in Cam. And I think, they have to be aware that they've got to step in and be able to contribute right away. And so while it is still developmental for all of these guys, when it comes down to it, I think they know the task of what's at hand and what's going to be expected of them, right?
Mike Bergonzi was asked if there were any trade discussions on third-year quarterback Will Levis during the draft. He said no and added this.
It's a lot of value. I think, there's going to be competition in every room, and he elevates the competition in that room. That's what we're trying to do here as we get into training camp, is have the best 90-man roster, best competition in every room, and Will certainly provides that.
Was there an intent to move him during the draft?
There was not.
I guess that's kind of my question is quarterback position. How you feel like you are with 4 guys in the room? How much you looking forward to just seeing how things kind of play out as we get closer to the season?
Yeah, that'll it's a great room we have right now with those 4 guys. That'll be up to Brian and his staff in terms of reps and as we go through the off season and get into training camp. But we'll take it step by step here, and that'll be up to Brian in terms of who takes what reps at some point. So we're not going to name any starters here though that right now here in the off season.
No starters and no trade talks for Will Levis. Thoughts?
I think it's not super surprising because right when you asked about the value, it's like, oh, yeah, there's a lot of value in that in terms of having Will Levis during training camp at least, right? And that's not what he did say, at least. But I'm just saying, I heard the value word come up in what he was saying, and it made me think, let's try to make this a great competition during training camp of just all these quarterbacks, but specifically because you want to get something for Will Levis when it's all said and done. I think that, he could still be a trade piece if he can elevate his stock a little, even if it's just during training camp. And I agree with him, though. I think competition is always great, and it's good to have a young rookie have competition, even though we know that, Cam Ward is probably the starter in this scenario.
It is. I got to give him more credit to Will Levis more than anything, man, to be able to hold your own in this position because, one, you ain't got no other option for the most part unless you're gone or you create a fuss to leave. It's going to be fascinating to see how that goes, though, because the same way I feel about Shador and Dylan Gabriel and Cleveland is the same way I feel about Will Levis being a talking point continuously here in Nashville. Like, ultimately, Cam Ward is going to be the day one starter, opening day starter when they open up the season this year. It's a matter of how do they delegate the reps when it comes down to the other quarterbacks in the room. And at this point, I almost feel like Brandon Allen is a player's coach more than he is a rep guy throughout the course of the game. That again, is cool. And I think Cam probably needs that in his life too, specifically to pass on the offense or at least be a buffer to allow Coach Callahan, as Jeff requested, to speak more to the defense, to focus more. You got a direct communicator that knows you well and that can help teach up Cam Ward more than anything.
Yeah. It's interesting the way they're going to deal with Levis because there's just so much extra stuff that comes with Will Levis beyond playing quarterback that I would not want around my rookie quarterback for much longer than training camp.
What you mean?
The commercials. The going out with celebrities, just being seen publicly.
Infringing upon.
He's more of a character than just a quarterback, Will Levis. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing. Like, go get paid. Like, be yourself. Yeah. But it is hard to have him in the same room as a distraction to everything when you are trying to reset the franchise and the organization.
All I'll say to that is I think they're that confident that Cam doesn't give a you-know-what about any of that crap.
Well, yeah, of course.
So I don't...
He's still a rookie.
Yeah, I get that. It's almost like going... When he went from Pullman to Miami, I'll be the first to admit, I was like, uh-oh. Like, could we maybe see some stuff that... No, not at all. Like, not even one thing. And so I feel like Cam is so set in his foundation of who he is that not even Will Levis can probably be that guy that's going to distract him in terms of the going out stuff and all that.
It's not really for distracting him. It's for the rest of the roster as well.
Yeah.
Because I imagine there are still guys in that locker room who are loyal to Will Levis.
I agree. And I think Jeff Simmons is one of those
When
guys.
Marcus Mariota was drafted, there is a viral video of Justin Hunter and Kendall Wright at the Titans draft party at Nissan Stadium going, oh.
Sure. Sure.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you, Will.
Yeah. For
I
Matt
get that
Hasselbeck.
point.
That's where I'm at more than anything when it comes down to it. It's not any effect on Cam. It's the conversation around him. It is the articles that we're going to have to discuss here. And I'm sure Cam don't hear or pay attention to the stuff like that. But the piece of Will Levis had a good day today.
Sure. Just the locker room in general, if you've got some of those Will Levis lovers still.
I'm pretty sure
no
he does.
pun intended.
Because our feelings about him is different than the locker room feeling. Like, it's guys that fans hated that we love.
That was 2015 when the Titans had Zach Mettenberger. And Justin Hunter and Kendall Wright were working out with Zach Mettenberger ahead of the 2015 draft. And Kendall Wright went publicly in the media and said, I think Zach is more than capable and is ready for the challenge. Want him to start.
Yeah.
Wasn't Hasselbeck. It was Mettenberger.
Golly, that's tough.
I get it. That's
I'm
a
not
real
saying
thing.
that people are upset on the Titans roster. They're drafting Cam Ward, like a little bit of a different situation, but
You have loyalty.
you will
though, so.
always have split loyalties and split, attention. And if Will Levis is trying to get better and is trying to work with the wide receivers and tell him what he wants in order to further his own career, well, that could be different than the things that Cam Ward wants in the practice
For
field.
sure.
The biggest issue, and I guess it becomes a trade, that's your answer, but the biggest issue is what if Will Levis is cooking more? What if he's calm? What if
Then trade him.
putting a guy in front of him
Get something
matters?
for him.
You get something for him?
Yeah.
at this point?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Go get a 5th-round pick for him.
They're all about
But then,
getting picks.
to that point, do you trust your backups?
Yeah.
You do
To be
trust Brandon
coaches.
Allen?
I mean, unless Cam Ward gets hurt, there's no reason for those guys to play a second of football this year.
Now, I'm agreeing with you, but, I mean, guys have a hangnail all the time, right?
Okay.
A broken pinky all the time.
That helps you build this thing up for 2026 anyway, because this is a rebuilding year. I'm serious.
Like,
I'm serious.
hell
Like,
yeah.
and we've talked about this. Stephen Godfrey sat here and talked about it. The Titans have not been good at losing.
Yeah.
One way to build up this thing is if Cam Ward does get hurt, you want to be in position to get him better targets. Because having a backup quarterback who's good enough to win you 6 or 7 games is not in your best interest right now. Like, I'm not saying they're trying to tank, but also, like, everything is pointing towards making Cam Ward better. Like, having a top-of-the-line backup right now is not in your best interest. Because if Cam Ward's not playing, you'd rather have good draft picks than a backup quarterback who's winning you, I mean, let's be honest, more meaningless games at that point.
That's true.
You got to be good at losing.
Well, on the way too early 2026 NFL draft.
Yeah, that's right.
The athletic.
Arch Manning's number 1, and the Titans are taking an edge rusher. At number 5 overall.
Number 4 overall.
Oh, there you go. I guess we're looking at different, way too early top 2026 mock
If it's
drafts.
true, then Drew Aller at Cleveland, that's a trade. They got 2 first-rounders.
Coming up,
Get you
Austin
2.
Price of
Lose the
VolQuest and
right
On
way.
3 joins us after this.
It's Ramon and Kayla here for Window Nation. Kayla, April's a great time to spruce up around your house, especially during Window Nation buy 4, get 4 free sale going on right now. Listen to me. You could pay nothing until 2027. That's one of my boys graduate, man. And if you buy a house full of windows, they'll include a free entry door also. What we do love about Window Nation, Kayla, it's a whole lot, okay?
It is a whole lot of good because this time of the year, this week in general, we are probably going to be cranking up that AC. I know that I've done it a couple of times, right? And you don't want all that energy to literally go out the window. So pair up with our friends at Window Nation. They have some of the best insulated windows that you can buy. And this is why we trust Window Nation, because they do it all well and they don't do it at the expensive rate. 50-point inspection of every window before it even leaves the factory. Installers who specialize in windows, many of them with 15 years of experience, they're going to do it right the first time. All you got to do to schedule a fast free estimate today is call 866-90-NATION or simply go online to windownation.com. There is a lot going on in this awesome city that we live here in Nashville, Tennessee, but you can maybe get overwhelmed a little bit, at least when it comes to finding people you trust. And that's why you need to check out my friend Bernie Gallerani. Bernie Gallerani has years of experience when it comes to real estate. He's going to know your neighborhood. He's going to care about your buying or selling goals. In fact, Bernie guarantees to sell your home in 30 days or less, or he's just going to buy it from you. And this includes some of his 100% satisfied customers. Charisse, she had 6 months in terms of searching for the perfect place. And when Bernie Gallerani Real Estate actually took over, from day one, the team was patient. They answered every question, making her entire process smooth and stress-free. So when Charisse was ready to buy, they found her the perfect home. Bernie is the only real estate agent here in Nashville, recommended by Barbara Corcoran of Shark Tank. And all you got to do to get started is give him a call on his cell phone, 615-428-2644. That's 615-428-2644. Or just go check him out at BernieGallerani.com.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone continues in hour number 3. Second half of the show is brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Every half of the show brewed by Scooter's Coffee. Locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Make sure you download that Scooter's Coffee mobile app today. Order ahead and save $2 off your first mobile order. You can join 104.5 The Zone for our Golf Classic, presented by Ferguson on Monday, June the 9th at Nashville Golf and Athletic Club in the heart of Cool Springs, a historic course. Breathtaking panoramic views of the Middle Tennessee countryside. Get your team today. Choose between 2 flights, 8 a.m. or 1 p.m. Spend the day teeing off with us. And for more info or to purchase a team, visit 1045thezone.com. We are getting connected with Austin Price in just a moment. Maybe he's at the end of a tee time. Or at the beginning of a tee time.
Beginning of one.
As I see the phone light up now.
Yeah, it'll be beginning of a tee time. You golf lately?
Yeah.
You have?
It's a good week to do it.
Yeah,
I did it with Jeffrey Simmons a week and a half ago.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, giving him golf tips.
I was. I saw on his Instagram story he was at the range yesterday, so maybe he was putting into practice what I was teaching him. I'm not a good teacher, considering my handicap, but that's all right.
Sometimes you just got to be able to speak how they speak, Will. And you probably connected with him more than his golf pro did. You know what I'm saying? It's like that. I learn better from peers sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told him at one point, I was like, just try to sweep right in front of the ball. And then he just knocked one right up on the green. And he was like, what the heck? And I was like, it's literally that easy.
Keep it simple.
That's all it is.
You say that, and then guys go out there
That's all it
daily.
is.
challenge.
Doesn't mean you can do it. It just means that's how you do it.
Yeah.
We're joined now by Austin Price of VolQuest on 3 for his weekly visit here on the show. What's up, Austin? How are you?
Oh, it's a delayed glass break, guys. It was a delayed glass.
Hey, that's quite all right. Jacoby Thomas, Austin, entering the transfer portal officially yesterday. How surprised were you, and how surprised do you think Tennessee's coaches were for a guy that on the Vol Club Confidential, Austin was talking about playing for his dream school not that long ago?
Listen, Jacoby and I had about a 30-minute conversation Thursday night, and at that point I thought he was going to come back. But I think, the more he kind of looked at his situation, and, Jacoby, I don't want to tell his story, but there's some stuff going on for him, and, he's got to look out for his family and do what's best for him. I think it was a very tough deal. I get Tennessee fans are frustrated, and they think that his words ring hollow. And, I guess maybe they do in some ways, but, again, every kid's got to do what's best for them. And, if there's more money out there to be had somewhere else, and you can help your family in doing it, I hope he gets it. Otherwise it's a move for, I think not a smart decision for Jacoby. But I hope that money's out there for him, and I hope he gets it, and I hope he plays a lot this fall wherever he goes.
Austin, the fact that football has 2 windows, especially this one right now, had it not been open, what happens with a guy like Jacoby Thomas right now? He just sit and play and learn how to adjust? Like, what's the other options for an individual like him? I know he can renegotiate, but, you say he's got some stuff going on. I'm very sympathetic to that. But what's the alternative if this window wasn't open?
Well, he's still here, and really there's no renegotiating, right? If this window isn't in play, then whatever you sign for back during the winter window is what you're playing for. And realistically, that's the way it should be. That's where this whole thing has gotten off the rails. It's not the money. I'll continue to beat the drum. It's not the money. Kids should be getting paid. It's too much money is involved for them to just be getting room and books. But it's the ability to move around. Again, I use Tyler Barron as the example, and I'm happy Tyler got drafted 5th round. Jets, man, I hope he has a great long NFL career. But the whole Tennessee, to Ole Miss, to Louisville, to Miami, it's just too much. And there's a bunch of those players, right? You look at some of the players that Tennessee's brought in. They're on their 2nd and 3rd school. Tennessee basketball is looking at kids that are on their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th school. A person in Nashville, I won't say his name, but he brought this up, and I thought it was a great point. Who is the GOAT of this generation? Who do all kids look up to?
Kobe? LeBron?
No, LeBron. And what's LeBron done? Bounce. And I'm like, and you put it in those terms, that's what the kids have grown up thinking is okay. And so there is very few Dirk Nowitzkis and Kobe Bryants and players that played for just one franchise. Like, everybody bounces around, and so it's the way of the world. I told Cooper Mays and Omari Thomas in the post-game press conference, I called them dinosaurs. Like, they are. Players like them won't exist a few years from now.
And they also do television specials to announce where they're going, just like LeBron James did, Austin. So does Tennessee add another safety then, Austin? And who has to play now? Who gets more reps with Jacoby Thomas leaving?
Well, I mean, Idris Farouk becomes, to me, I won't say a locked-in starter, but he has definitely got the leg up in the race to set the start beside Andre Turrentine. Caleb Beasley, I think, benefits from this. Caleb was playing some safety this spring. He was playing some nickel. I think his reps across the board just go up. Tennessee's bringing in South Florida DB Brent Austin later today, and then they're bringing in a Colorado transfer DB tomorrow if those kids make it to campus. All this stuff's so very fluid. If they were able to land one of those players, I think you look at, moving some guys around. Maybe, Beasley moves straight back to safety to be a heavy player there and doesn't play as much nickel. Maybe he does play more nickel and somebody else moves to safety. I think Tennessee would like to add somebody in the secondary, but I'm not sure it's a safety, so to speak. I think what you may see is some parts to the secondary just get, moved around to try to benefit and give them the best possible chance to succeed.
Austin Price of VolQuest on 3 with us this morning. Austin, in your dealings, you said you think with Jacoby Thomas, his agent may have said something to him or family issues or whatever they may have been. When it comes to your conversation, if you've had them with agents, do most of them understand the business, like what they're getting their guys into, or is it, hey, we had a school that's willing to pay, so you should leave?
That's what it is, Ramon. I mean, a lot of times these agents, they have no emotional tie to a school, and most of them are just, I got to do what's best for my client. Okay. Or, AKA, I got to do what's best for me, and if my client gets more money in the process because that helps me, then, so be it. I mean, there have been plenty of times where an agent has led a kid astray. I'm going to get you this, I'm going to get you that. That's why I said I hope for Jacoby's sake and Christian Charles' sake, both represented by the same person, I hope they get what they were told they were going to get before they got in the portal, because that's what their agent led them to believe, was all this money was out there. And I hope for them it is. I don't wish ill on anybody. In fact, that's one of the things that probably irks me the most is when kids get taken advantage of, so to speak, or led down a path that is not real.
Yeah. With that being said, too, Austin, speaking of we can revisit 2 Fridays ago, Boo Carter came out and said that Nico Iamaleava leaving was a shocker to them. This was a one-man band on this exit right here, like no communication with anybody, just to hear Boo Carter bringing that up. He seemed to be very vocal, kind of, I don't want to call him distraught about it, but he didn't see this coming.
Yeah, I think for Nico, I know he told, a player or two on that Wednesday, but I don't think he had shared that a whole lot, going into that. And so, I think Boo is someone that looked up to Nico. I think it probably did rattle him a little bit. And again, every player on your roster, I said this back in December, is a possibility to lead. No matter, listen, when December rolls around, Boo Carter will be a possibility to lead, just like Caleb Beasley will, just like every player on the roster will. That's not to say they're leaving. That's just to say, in this era where kids can bounce around at will, there's nobody safe. They're just not. And so I think, right now you're basically trying to put everybody in a position to have success in this window of time. And then they'll get to the next portal window, and then you'll do the same thing. And that's kind of where we are in college athletics until kids have contracts that are binding, that lock them in. Again, when you can, sign a deal in December and renegotiate in February and renegotiate again and in April, there's a real issue there.
Austin Price, our good friend of VolQuest, joining us this morning on RK from one quarterback to one that's still there in Jake Merklinger. Austin, it looks like he is signing or agreed to a new contract with the Vols. Is this the right time for this, and what does that signify?
Well, I don't think it necessarily signifies anything. I think it means that Jake, due to Nico's departure, got a little bit of a bump in pay because his importance to the program went up. Now, I don't think it signifies he's going to be the starter. Don't think it signifies, that he's the man to beat. I think this is an open competition. Jake Merkliner may be your starting quarterback when Syracuse and Tennessee play in Atlanta to start the season. It also may be Joey Aguilar, or it may be George McIntyre. I think it's incorrect to assume anything, especially when it's going to be a wide open battle. So for Jake, I think it was a chance to make some more money with Nico's departure, and kudos to him, and he got that, and then we'll see where the competition goes from there, Kale.
And Austin, this is a little different from what we've seen Josh Heupel deal with in terms of that quarterback competition in years in the past, because you kind of knew who the guy was going to be. How does he handle that as a head coach and, handle this competition and finding exactly who's ready to start?
Well, I think you go back to his first year. That was an open competition. I mean, Joe and Hendon and, the players that were on campus at that time. And so it's not been that long ago since Heupel's had a quarterback competition. I think that, for him, they've got to figure out how to get Joey Aguilar up to speed as quick as he can. That's going to be the challenge for Joey Halsley and the offensive staff is to, get him up to speed, because no matter whether he starts or he's the backup, he's still got to know the offense in case there's a twisted ankle or a helmet comes off or whatever, and he has to come into the game. So I think that's a big moment in time in mid-May through basically through August 1 when camp starts, to get him up to speed as quickly as possible. That way when camp does start, he's not, twisting and turning in the wind. You want him to be as stable as you can get him. So I think for this quarterback competition, it's a big few months, maybe less peaceful would be how I describe the next few months for Joey Halsley and Josh Heupel, because, when they go on vacation in, July during the dead period, I think they're still going to have to find a way to help a guy like Joey Aguilar along.
Austin Price of VolQuest, our guest. Austin, Keelan Russell, the BYU wide receiver, commits to Miami. Trevor Pena, Tennessee never really in on him, going to Penn State. There's a McNeese State wide receiver the Vols have been interested in. He's potentially now slated to go elsewhere. Why hasn't Tennessee been able to add more wide receiver talent? Has this been their evaluation of these guys just not being as high as others? Is it being outbid? Kind of why hasn't Tennessee maybe dived deeper into the wide receiver transfer portal?
I feel like it boils down to Tennessee is searching for a backup wide receiver. And the receivers that are out there are either wanting a much bigger bag in terms of NIL that Tennessee's wanting to spend, because, if you're watching the receivers in the portal and you feel like basically all the players you had this spring are better than that kid, then why would you give that kid a bunch of money and more money than you may be giving to your own current team? Well, you wouldn't, unless you want to keep harmony. Right. And so there lies the rub. They're not looking for a starter. It'd be much easier if they needed to get a starting linebacker or a starting receiver or a starting defensive tackle. It's a lot easier to give money to that. It's not as simple when you're trying to find backups, and those backups want starter-ish type money, and they also want to play. And so I think the more that you have conversations with players and you tell them and you're transparent, you say, hey, listen, we've got our starters, but we're looking for somebody that's going to play X amount of reps a game, be a nice piece for us, that type of thing. I think certain kids are just put off by that.
And Austin, on the basketball front, Amari Abram, Louisiana Tech shooting guard, visiting with Tennessee. I know you guys have an interview up with him at VolQuest.com right now. How much did Tennessee help itself with that visit? And is there any other shooting guard help you think could be on the way for the Vols to fill in some big roster holes?
Yeah, I mean, they're recruiting overseas. They're obviously recruiting the kid, the French kid, and I can't remember his name.
Clarence Masamba.
There we go. I knew you'd have it. I knew you'd have it, Bo.
I got you.
And then Abram, I would say Tennessee's going to get good news on Abram. in the very near future. And so, I think that's something they did a nice job with that kid. Now, that kid, he shot it well, but he's also bounced around. He's been at Georgia Tech. He's been at Ole Miss. He's been at Louisiana Tech. I mean, he's bounced around. Again, the new way of college athletics. And so, Tennessee's needing to add shooters. They like what they've done in the portal at this point. As much as they love Nate Ament and Jacoby Gillespie, I'm not sure anybody excites Rick Barnes more than Jalen Carey because of what he brings.
Wow,
so,
me too.
They've done a really good job of piecing it together, but they've got to piece it together with a couple of more shooters. Abram would be a nice start, and then we'll see if they're able to get your guy, Clarence, out of Europe, and then we'll see what else happens. Right, like people keep bringing up Jordan Gainey and his TikTok about sixth man of the year for another year and all that stuff. They would have to pass the 5-year thing. Yeah. I don't think that's happening until at least July. Somebody's going to have to win some type of legal battle, much like Diego Pavia did last year. When that happens, it opens up the door. I think Jordan Gainey can be patient and potentially kind of observe that from afar and at minimum start his pro career a month or two late. I think he has the ability to monitor it maybe better than others, but we'll see. Again, I think that a lot of it depends on when they pass it, if they pass it, and, who wins a legal battle, because they're going to try to make it where it's, 5 years going forward, but we all know how that's played out in the past. Somebody sues and the judge goes, you can't do that, and then opens up the floodgates. But by doing it in July, a lot of these kids may have already moved on with everything they've got going on.
Hey, summertime in Knoxville taking classes is really cool, okay? You got the campus to yourself.
I love summer classes.
Hey, Ramon, did you play? Were you here 5 years or were you just here 4 years?
I did 04 to 08. I had the red shirt, so I'm not sure if you count that as 5. But 04 to 08, yeah, I did 5.
Hey, you're done. You can't come back.
Look, I saw a group of former NBA guys now trying to sue for their NIL that they missed out on. So there might be a lane
Also, we got Titans fans that are already in line to get Ramon to come play tackle here for the professional team. So there's a long line for Ramon services.
I was going to be fascinated to see if he could play and commentate at the same time.
Hey, listen to
Let's
me.
go down to Ramon on the field, Ramon.
Hey,
see there. That kid just blew by me, Mike. That kid just blew right by me.
We couldn't put what I said on the broadcast on Vol Network, okay? Supreme trash talker, okay, Austin? This is what I do, okay? With that real quick, Larry Johnson, anything from there?
There's nothing. I've not heard him attached to any school, linked to any school.
Wow.
That one's a bit strange to me. I'm sure that he is talking to a lot of schools. Larry will be a guy that people are interested in. But, what kind of money can he command? Again, I think he's the biggest blow to Tennessee in the portal this cycle. More so, minus Nico, just because you don't want a quarterback change. But, I just think in today's day and time, your number 3 tackle, your number 3 edge, your number 3 anything is always going to be – a possible defector because they want to be the number 1 or the number 2 somewhere else.
He is Austin Price of VolQuest on 3 at Austin Priceless, where you follow him on Twitter for the very best coverage of Tennessee athletics. VolQuest.com, a must-have subscription for Vols fans all around the state of Tennessee. Austin, we appreciate you, sir. Thank you.
Sounds good, guys. Appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yes, sir. Austin Price with us here this morning. I'll react to more of that in hour 4 coming up, 615-737-1045 if you want to get in on the discussion. I think there is a new preseason number 1 in college football based off of a transfer that happened this week, and we'll talk about that next.
Mother's Day is almost here, and why not cement your reputation as the best gift giver in the family? Give the moms in your life Aura digital picture frame preloaded with decades of family photos. I just got mine the other day. I'm so excited to give it to my mom. Aura Frames was actually named the best digital photo frame by Wirecutter, and it is easy to see why. They are and limited in terms of storage so that you can add as many photos, videos, and funny memes as you can find. So the Aura frames right now, all you got to do is go to auraframes.com, promo code ZONE, that's ZONE, and you can support the station by mentioning us at checkout. Go ahead and get your Aura frame now. Terms and conditions apply.
RKW Brew by Scooters Coffee, wrapping up hour number 3 this morning. So there is a team that made a big transfer portal addition this week at a premium position that doesn't have a lot of premium talent. What if I told you Penn State should be the preseason number 1 team in college football?
Talk to me.
What would you say to me?
It's about time, but do you trust Franklin is what I would say to you.
Well, here's the thing. Look at what we know about college football teams coming into this season. I know more about Penn State than I do any other team in the top 10 in terms of returning production. So Drew Aller is back at quarterback. Syracuse transfer Trevor Pena, who spent his first 4 seasons at Syracuse, was one of the ACC's best receivers last year. Career high 84 catches last year, 1,000 yards, 9 touchdowns. Again, in the semifinal, Penn State did not have a wide receiver catch a pass. A wide receiver did not catch a pass. Running backs and Tyler Warren did. Best running back duo in the country, no question, at Penn State this year. Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, who are back. DDS is back. He doesn't have his running partner, Abdul Carter, but denied Dennis Sutton at edge rusher. They are experienced on the back end. In the portal, Kyron Hudson and Devontae Ross, they have loaded up at wide receiver, which was their biggest need last season. Here's what I can conservatively say. At worst, Penn State is the number 2 team in the country in the preseason poll coming into this season. At worst. I could make an easy claim for them being the number 1 team in the country right now.
That's what I was going to say. Their biggest hurdle is them beating the boogeyman, and not just 1, but 2 boogeymen now. How can they hold up with Ohio State? And you said number 2 team. I'm with you there. But also Oregon. Dan Lanning has been doing what he needs to do to get their team ready and prepared. It feels like with them, they always have those hurdles that they can't get over as it pertains to those teams. I'm with you. I actually think James Franklin's a good coach. It's a matter of him not Brian Kellying himself more than anything. You're getting the players. Can you actually coach them up to win in those moments, or are you like Coach Klein and the Water Boy? Do you have to have a playbook with puppies on it to actually call a good game? Because again, to your point about the talent being there, that right there in college football, I think resonates more than any league. If you got talent on the football side of things in college football, Ohio State just showed us this. Bama just showed us this year after year. Georgia has shown us this. What's the factor for them to get them over the hump? You mentioned the bang they have as far as the running back and how that goes. But here's what you do know. Ohio State is probably loaded back up again, and if they got to travel to Eugene this year, how they handle that.
Yeah.
I'm with you. I'm not denying it, but I've felt the same way about him. It's a matter, Kayla, to me, what kind of coach is he? Because all we've heard is how great he is.
And look, he has elevated that team. You know, in terms of Penn State, they went through a lot of stuff before, he got there. And I will say he did help kind of stabilize the program again. I will give James Franklin credit for that. But it is getting over the hump for him. When you do have a lot of talent that comes to that school, Penn State is still a traditional football powerhouse when it comes down to the name of it. And when you are in a conference like the Big Ten, and you've got the big bad boogie monster in Ohio State, and you've had Michigan as of late, except for last year, obviously a little bit of change there with the program, but coming off of a national championship, those are the teams that are being talked about. Penn State is always like the runner-up or the girl at the dance that she didn't get asked first, right? It's always like they're right there. And just like Ryan Day, though, had to prove that he could win a national championship with Ohio State, even when he lost to Michigan again this year. That's what James Franklin has to do now. He has the talent. He's got his returning quarterback. They've added a wide receiver. Their defense, that's what helped them propel them last year to the playoffs. Now you've kind of got everything, and you're right. You have to make it work. You've got to go the distance. Yeah. But, Will, everything on paper looks really, really good for the setup.
Yeah, I'm not arguing that they are or aren't the team that's going to win the national title. I'm starting from the starting gate.
I'm with you on that one.
On the starting line, they are at worst the number 2 team in the country. I think the only team I'm okay ranking ahead of them is Texas at this point, because all those other teams you mentioned in the Big Ten don't have answers at quarterback.
Right.
Oregon, Michigan, and Ohio State have brand new quarterbacks. Illinois has a quarterback. I think Illinois is a college football playoff contender in 2025 of Luke Altmaier at quarterback, and the returning production that Burt Bielema has. Yes, I did mean to say Burt Bielema. But James Franklin, I think, is properly rated as a coach. He is a coach that can build a good roster and beat good teams and not great ones.
Yeah.
Well, now he doesn't only just have a great roster, he's got a great coaching staff. Remember, Jim Knowles is their defensive coordinator. The old Ohio State defensive coordinator. And Andy Kotelnicki is the offensive coordinator who comes over from the Big 12, and Kansas really missed Andy Kotelnicki last season. Really did.
100%.
So he has got what Ryan Day had last year.
Just bring up.
He has got maybe the best collection of coordinators now in all of college football to go with a really good roster. Like, I think Penn State is an 11-win team if these guys stay healthy and live up to the hype. Just on paper, like, I think it's them and Texas, and then it's everyone else right now.
Trevor Pena, to their franchise quarterback at this point, should be, I'm talking about, one of the best wide receivers in the country, especially if they paid that tag for him, too. I'm with you on that one. My eyes are very much locked in on what they got going on for sure.
And this year, if James Franklin can't win the big one and they're 10-2 again with losses to Ohio State and Michigan, then we start having a different discussion to the one we have been having, because he is now on record with Andy and Ari on 3 saying things like, we have alignment here that I have never had before. We have investment that I have never had before. Well, now, James, it's time to win games that you've never won before. Because that's the second step in that same process. So Ari Wasserman wrote that column at On 3 talking about how, on paper, they might be the number 1 team in the country right now. I have a hard time arguing that.
I see it.
I do.
Especially with the coaching additions as well.
Coming up, hour number 4, 615-737-1045. Did you guys hear the way that the Jags GM described Travis Hunter?
Yep.
Over the weekend? Some incredible audio. It sounds like if AI was a GM. We'll play it for you next.
If you're often feeling tired, lacking motivation and drive, gaining weight, or noticing a loss of muscle mass, these could all be signs of low testosterone. Listen to me. Don't wait. Go ahead and find out. At Low T Center, they make it easy to get your levels checked. And it's just a simple test, too. And with their own light lab, you get your results back right there. Low T Center is not a typical doctor's office. The physicians specialize in treating low T with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, for each patient. The experts at Low T Center have over a decade of experience helping patients. It's super important. There's personal treatment plans are optimized for each patient. These aren't just basic standard treatments. Absolutely not. For you current patients out there, Low T Center is also offering a $150 referral credit for each new patient that you refer. And at Low T Center, you can also get your health evaluated before treatment with prescription GLP-1 weight loss medication. So get back to your best. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. That's lowtcenter.com. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
Good morning. It's 9:01 from the 104.5 The Zone Studios. I'm Justin Hawkins. Tennessee Titans president of football operations Chad Brinker and general manager Mike Borgonzi met with the media yesterday in a post-draft press conference. They were asked about 2022 first-round draft pick wide receiver Traylon Burks and if they will pick up his fifth-year option. Brinker said, quote, "We're still discussing on that, but yeah, probably not. The deadline to make that decision on the fifth-year option is this Thursday, May 1st. Also, the Titans, per Paul Kowarski this morning, are expected to hire former Cleveland Browns Director of Player Personnel Dan Sagany in a high-level scouting role. The news comes just after the Titans and A.J. Highsmith part ways yesterday following one season as the Titans Director of Scouting. In other NFLs this morning, there's a new highest-paid tight end in the NFL, per Will Compton and Taylor Lewan of Bussin' with the Boys. San Francisco 49ers tight end George Kittle has signed a 4-year, $76.4 million extension worth $19.1 million per year. In Tennessee Vol football news, Tennessee and quarterback Jake Merklinger have agreed on a new contract ahead of this 2025 season, per Pete Nakos of On3 Sports. Merklinger will get a boost in compensation, but the amount of the deal has not been disclosed. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, you have to go to USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
RKW Hour 4, brewed by Scooters Coffee with locations in White House, Mount Juliet, Rivergate, Smyrna, and Brentwood. Coming up in 15 minutes, we'll be joined by renowned draft MC and former Titans linebacker Keith Bulluck. He'll take us inside the green room in Green Bay and how he spent his time while the Titans traded back. And also maybe how many times he practiced Oluwafemi Oladejo before he became officially a Tennessee Titan. On Friday night, Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Boulding with you. So the GM of the Jags looks younger than me, and that's saying something because I look like I was born yesterday. And James Gladstone speaks like AI talking about a player. This was the GM of the Jags talking about Travis Hunter at his introductory press conference last week.
You know, as we sit here, Travis Hunter is a Jacksonville Jaguar, and really what comes to mind for me, right? Thinking about the sport of football and really the power of the game itself, right? Its capacity to ignite belief, right? Belief in ourselves, belief in others, right? Belief in achieving what many may deem impossible. Travis Hunter, he embodies belief, right? He's a rare person. He's a rare player, but he's also a reminder that the boundaries of the game of football were built to be challenged. And so the decision to select him was actually a statement for how we plan to move, who we are, and we want him to be nothing more than him. Because when he is, he elevates the space around him. From the football field to the city, to the game of football itself, Travis Hunter is who we've been hunting up. Couldn't be more jacked to be sitting right here beside him and introduce you all to the man of the hour.
I've just decided what James Gladstone sounds like. That's the GM of the Jags, by the way. He sounds like when the youth minister gets a chance to preach in the big service at church. That's what James Gladstone sounds like. He sounds like the youth pastor getting that rare Sunday opportunity to preach in the big sermon.
He was doing it all, and then the ending also to add to it the hunted up.
A rare individual.
Like, come on, man. Just say we really like
Let's bow your heads and pray.
Oh, my gosh. This is one of them situations right here. Dang, bro, you about to ruin it. She going to let you take her on another date.
Right?
Shut up already.
Exactly.
He's going home with
Put
you.
a sock in your mouth.
He's yours already. At all. Bro.
Woof.
Listen to how he feel. Like, he was very philosophical about that one. That was insane. Like, he was, wow.
That was too much. Like, being a female, and if someone were to court me like that, I say, like, you're going in the trash.
I don't know if he's courting Travis Hunter, to be fair.
But I'm just saying, like, those words and the extent of the words, and then you kept on going on. Like, I got it the first 30 seconds of what you were saying.
Bro trying hard right there.
I mean, he kind of cooked. Like, I'll be honest. Like, it was impressive. He clearly thought it out. He's not reading anything. Is the other impressive thing.
Like,
he's making eye contact with different reporters.
Yeah, that's impressive.
I feel like James Gladstone would just stare into my soul if I had a conversation like this. Like, these reporters are sitting there like, bro, I just had my first cup of coffee. I'm just trying to start my day. Like, it's really not that deep.
Hey, cuz Mike said, hey, man, don't do the youth pastor like that.
Look, come on. It genuinely, he sounds like the late 20s youth pastor who gets a chance to preach on the Sunday morning service for the first time.
We get it.
When he graduates from Sunday afternoons at 4 p.m., or the Sunday lunch to the Sunday service. That's what James Gladstone sounds like.
Yeah.
Plus, he looks that young, too.
It sounds like he went to the Deion Sanders School of Speech is what it sounds like. Like, that's how Prime speaks at time. Like, I get you got one of his guys, but, bro, we got Prime in Colorado. He in Boulder. We good. You supposed to be up there screaming, Duval. Like, you got to give me something. He is tripping. Like, I'm with it. You're right. If that's me, I'd feel weird, but at the same time, it's like, hey, y'all heard him. Y'all heard him. I'm what y'all been looking for down here. Like, Travis Hunter at this point might as well just start, like, getting ownership from the cons is what I'm telling you at this point. Like, that, there's nothing better.
I mean, if you're Travis Hunter, obviously you're thrilled because they picked you and they traded up to get you, and that makes it even more of a they wanted me. After hearing that, though, I mean, my goodness, I'd be like, okay, man, I get it.
Hey,
but I'm just here to do work.
Lindsay in the chat says eye contact makes it weird.
No,
hey,
yeah,
Lindsay,
for sure.
Make it weird.
If he was reading, it might have been less awkward.
Make it weird.
Make it weird. You feel me? Hey, listen, Jacksonville is trying to rebrand in a lot of different ways.
But
I mean, you can tell how he got to where he is under the age of 35 as a general manager. Like, the guy clearly interviews very well, and I could see Sean Codd listening to about 10 minutes of that in a GM interview and sign me up. All right.
No.
I'm convinced.
I'd be
like that's too much.
Yeah.
No, it is too much. But Sean Conn's not an intelligent NFL owner.
There it is.
He's rich,
more,
but, like, I don't know if he's really good at this.
Not like the basics, right?
Yeah, no, I'm not giving him praise. Trust me.
It sounds like that brother has never had a sprained finger. You know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't this. Look, if they are using the intellects to run their football program, that better be good fast and in a hurry. They've done some good stuff. I give them that, but Travis is who he is. He didn't need all that, bro.
And remember the mascot? They made him dance down they did the social media thing where they made him dance down the aisle with the mascot and stuff. Like it was some TV show. Yeah. Like it was it was just too much.
There's so much I want to say about this if we were in the group chat. There's just so much I want to say. I feel like
I'm curious to learn what the filter is catching right now. Yeah, give us a little preview.
I got one because it's clean. It's somewhat clean, but you know it if I say it.
You quickly backpedaled from clean to somewhat clean.
Hey, what's his name? What's their GM name again?
James Gladstone.
James Gladstone. Hey, wipe your mouth, man. It's enough already.
615-737-1045. The number, Jeremy. Up next. Hey, Jeremy.
Hey, good morning, guys. That's extremely awkward. Give me what your take on. What do you think Travis Hunter was sitting there thinking as he was listening to this guy talk about him like that? Like you might have felt awkward.
See, the problem I have is I feel like Travis is the one that gave him this feeling. Because the entire draft, he's been dancing. He's been hyped.
He has been hyped.
He's been smiling. He probably gave him that energy.
He wanted to be in warm weather and in the state of Florida. Travis Hunter is a big fisher, so he wants to be able to fish, which he talked about. He said, man, I just want to go to a place where I can fish because that's what he does off the field, so...
But he's also probably like, yeah, man, never again. Like, that was your one pass.
Hey, he's
the one being gassed up. Right? Awkward for him.
But, it's sometimes I'm hanging around my guy, Savage. Savage energy is here. I'm going to ride the wave of what the fumes he give me behind.
Except when he's
it's
hyping
also
you
not
up.
Chat
when he hyping
GPT.
me up, you know what I'm saying?
It's not
Like,
Chat GPT though.
Hey,
The things he says.
sometimes you gotta let people just do their thing. Like Travis being the hype man the way he is, that's a Travis thing. Like when I'm with Savage and Savage going in, hey, yeah, that's my dog right there. Like I'm not trying to one up him, is what I'm saying. I feel like Gladstone was trying to like one up Travis in that moment.
Right.
Like you ain't ever had Prime do this for you, have you?
Is
Like,
he older than
bro.
Travis? Do we have that as a
He is older than him, yes.
Yeah,
He is older than him.
That is nuts, man. Get that man a towel, please.
And that's another story.
Hey,
That's
that is-
another story for another day.
Yeah, Liam
Wow.
Cohen said he did an interview with
Goodness.
Pardon My Take, said he's working on his Duval.
Oh,
Yeah.
Is he really? That's good for him, man. Look, we might not be able
least of his worries.
to laugh about them later in the season. We got to get them out right now.
I mean, they swept
Right.
the Titans last year with Mac Jones at quarterback.
yeah,
Stop,
that's
Will. We
not.
was having a good
We can't
time.
talk about
Not a lot.
can't talk about the Jags like that.
They call
They
up.
fired their
nice
coach
spotted
and
there.
GM and they swept us.
They call up here like Brandon Bean did and just ask a question. Hey, who won last year? And that's all
This
you can say
is
is
so
you're right.
funny. They all are just so. This is such a unique group.
It is.
I'm just looking at this presser right now.
And you know what? That weird might make them good. Because their seriousness they had with Doug Peterson and Urban Meyer
Right.
and just everybody else before him this is probably what they need. Jacksonville is a very eccentric city. Like
Yeah, you'd
in
rather
general.
have
True.
cheesy than kicking your kicker,
Yeah.
the way Urban did, or
if it,
learning about the local talent in an NFL city instead of flying home with the team. This is better than that.
if
Yeah.
you see Urban and you that kicker, like you swinging on him.
With my foot, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know
okay.
if my arm could do much connection if I'm a kicker.
But
in
we
this
got to get our
hypothetical,
lick
but-
back, is what you saying.
Well, I think that you got your lick back by the fact that he was fired in historically fast fashion.
Did he get did he also get like the walkaway money too, the buyout?
Yeah, I mean,
He did?
always.
God, no. We ain't-
There's one thing agents will do, it's get you paid. Look, being a fired football coach is my dream job.
Yeah.
Being able to make millions and not work, that's the American dream.
That's so true.
I'd play so
ask
much
Edo.
golf.
Hey,
Ed Orgeron's living his best life.
Oh yeah.
is living. I'm talking about
Great.
he popped up last week
You
on
wouldn't
social
hear me
media.
doing any media. I would not be on a game day desk. I would not put on a headset forever. If I'm a fired football coach, I'm taking it to the house.
Picking up new
You hear me? I'm
hobbies.
buying a house, and then I'm basically just living on a golf course.
Out here like Tyler Perry with RC airplanes flying them
Yeah.
around. It's
the dream job.
Yeah.
It is. Man, that mailbox money is something different.
Yeah, it is.
Fire me,
No
Kim
doubt.
Melissa. Send me my checks. No, don't
Coming
fire me.
up, Tennessee Titans legend, draft announcer, and one of our favorites, Keith Bulluck, joins us next.
It's Ramon Foster for United Structural Systems. Good people, did you know that up to 50% of the air you breathe in your home comes from your crawl space? Well, have you ever looked in your crawl space? I get it. Most of us don't even want to know what's in there, but moisture in your crawl space can create unhealthy issues that can make their way into the air you breathe every day in your home. This is where United Structural Systems can help you. USS has been keeping homes dry and stable in Middle Tennessee since 1994, so you know they aren't going anywhere. Help control moisture and musty smells with mold treatment and crawl space encapsulation that comes with the USS guarantee. That's right. Encapsulation helps reduce high humidity in your crawl space, helps deter mold and mildew, and protects your crawl space from pests and wood rot. Turn your crawl space into a healthy space. Reach out to the company that I trust, man. That's United Structural Systems. You can go to their website at USSTN.com. That's USSTN.com or call them at 615-488-7855. United Structural Systems.
RKW Brew by Scooters Coffee on 104.5 The Zone. Ramon Foster, Kayla Anderson, and Will Bowling. Joined by a man you saw on television over the weekend with a great pronunciation job, a great announcing job. He's coming for our jobs. He is former Tennessee Titan Keith Bulluck joining us on the program this morning. Bully, good job over the weekend, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. I appreciate it. Yeah, tough task, but someone had to do it.
Well, you also made it look cool, Bully. Like, you had the whole fit that was rocking, and you were, chill about it. You weren't, nervous. You know how some people get up there, they know they're going to butcher the name? Like, they don't go up with confidence. Like, you went up there and owned it.
Well, yeah, well, thanks on the fit and that whole, that's a whole thing. I'm not used to going on national television too often anymore. So there's some thought that went into that. So black leather in Green Bay was, I feel like you couldn't go wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. There were some other outfits that were pretty nice, but I wouldn't have gone there. But hey, you take your moment. But yeah, look, you don't get much time either, because, you're in the green room, Rogers green room, and then you come right out and they're like, all right, you guys are just wait for your pick. And it literally comes out of a printer and the young lady writes, okay, Tennessee Titans. And then the number, whatever the number at 152, I don't remember whatever the number was, but the name comes out printed and then they give it to you. And I'm like, what? And it's funny because earlier that day you have we meet with Roger, all the players that are there. We have a briefing. It actually was a nice round table. But then he goes into the night of the draft. He's like, look, if you get one of those names, just, pretty much they just do your best. And then I got one of those names. And he pokes his head out of the green room and he's like, yo, you all right?
That's awesome.
I got it.
How many times did you practice the name before you went up there?
Look, man, I'm definitely, I had to go to class at Syracuse, so I'm definitely educated. So,
Newhouse.
I wrote it out. I walked by Newhouse a few times.
Yeah.
Arts and sciences. I just wrote it out. I just kind of, phonically just wrote it out. And then after that, 'cause you really get 20 seconds and then you're walking out. You get the card, you got about 20 seconds. I had about 20 seconds to kind of write whatever I felt would help me. And then you're walking out. And then I guess I'm going through it in my head. But Roger does say, don't get distracted to try and, he's like, do what you want. Take your moment, shout out your high school, your people, whatever you want to do. But he's like, you got to read that card. He's like, that's where people go wrong. So, I just stayed in the moment and just, got it out.
I love it.
That pause helped. That pause definitely helped.
Absolutely.
Great story.
Keith Bulluck, our guest this morning. Keith, Cam Ward, of course, in Green Bay officially becomes a Tennessee Titan. I know you got the chance to shake his hand and meet him while you were up there. What do you like about him and the things he said, just the quarterback that he is as he is now the new face of the franchise?
Well, I think I've liked Cam Ward throughout the whole process. And what I really like about Cam Ward to start the process is he kind of came out of nowhere. He's one of those kids that, bet on himself in this day and age where everybody kind of is going for the bucks, pay me first. He kind of bet on himself, took the challenge at the University of Miami and put himself on a national stage. And then has kind of owned it and has steered the course, throughout the whole draft process. The way he handled the draft process, the way he's handled himself, and every time he's presented himself, I feel obviously his play on the field is one thing, and it speaks for itself. He's progressively gotten better as a quarterback everywhere he's gone, and he's a galvanizing player in the sense where, Ramon, when you have someone in that locker room that can make everybody else better based on the way they play. You understand what I'm saying? Steve McNair was like that. We had Chris Johnson be like that. Vince Young was like that. From the quarterback offensive player standpoint, that could really do that. And I think that for what the Titans are getting, it's just the beginning. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to think last year at the University of Miami was his first year on a national stage. So now he's the first round pick, but I think what he say, 0-star recruit. I'm just a high draft pick. You know what I'm saying? So that's his mentality, and that's how he's approaching it. And he's bringing everybody with him. So I think Titans fans should look forward to watching the growth of Cam Ward, just because when you just being a former athlete and knowing and seeing this type mentality. And I actually had a chance to speak with his did he go to JUCO or something like that first?
He was FCS at Incarnate Word outside of San Antonio.
Yes, that's his coach I spoke to, and I had a beer with, and I asked him, what is an intangible that you have that you saw when you were coaching him that you see now that he has carried on since those first days. And he's like, he has some things that are just uncoachable. Like in a quarterback room as a coach, I can't tell my other quarterbacks to do this because of who he is. And there's and Ramon may have been in rooms like this before, but I know my coaches would tell the linebackers in our linebacker rooms, he's like, yo, you see this? Like, even as Coach Mack, he's like, nah, don't do this. Like, he can do this, but you can't. And it's one of those things, if you do it, you better make the play. But, I can't tell you not to do it because that's some good stuff right there. But, you know what I'm saying? So he's like, but those things that he's just one of those players, and he's a dog. You keep hearing that.
That is hilarious, Bully. That's one of the best pieces of advice I feel like you can get. You see him, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Right,
Stay in your lane.
Yeah. With that being said, though, Bully, this is a guy that you called, man, Oluwafemi Oladejo. It's always going to be questioned with edge guys unless you're first rounder, but how do you view a guy like him that's played off ball, played at the line of scrimmage also? How do you view his tape and what you know about him so far?
Look, I've seen a lot of his off the ball stuff, and I know that the Titans have a very creative defensive coordinator, so I feel like you can do a lot of things with him, especially coming into camp. Obviously you want to get him on the edge because that's what you need, and you want to make the most of that. But that being said, you also want to maximize your defense. You want to do the best you can for your defense. And if it means moving him around until he can get comfortable within the scheme, that too. But he just got to the edge. He's only been playing the edge for 1 year, and he's still moving into that position. But to make him comfortable, I think, maybe moving him around or just, putting him there and letting him go. I don't know what the Titans plan to do, but if they drafted him that high, I know they plan to put him in positions where he can have success for himself and the defense.
Bully, that's fascinating. Like you said, the transition and change to other positions, just getting acclimated to the NFL also. You were a guy that was, then you play safety coming out, Bully, then you move down to linebacker, then you end up going to the line of scrimmage. For guys that are in the building already, namely Cedric Gray and James Williams, right? The big safety that's playing linebacker right now. What's the expectation for those dudes coming in that second year? Most coaches live by what you did your rookie year won't impress me in year two. If there are some questions at inside off-ball linebacker for this group, like what do you expect from those guys going into it, coming out of the defensive side of the team meeting room?
Well, it's going to be tough, Ramon, just because, for me, I was fortunate enough to play linebacker for a couple of years at Syracuse. I played safety for 2 years, but then I had a couple of years at linebacker at Syracuse. So when I got into the NFL, I also was drafted as a first-round draft pick, so my skill level was up. Obviously there were some things that needed to be added to play at this level. I think for them what's good is it's not so much of a league that was banging. Look, I came in when we had the black and blue division, no fair dodging, you coming downhill, and one of my attributes was I could play in the box, but then I was also good at covering, and to be fair, it was tight. You know, it was more of the sluggish tight ends that wasn't going to run away from you back then. But either way, I think these guys benefit because this game is played more in space. And, look, with a good defensive coordinator, you could put guys in favorable positions. I believe Fred Warner was a guy that was a safety that kind of worked his way to be the linebacker that he is now. I remember having that conversation with Rand when he was there about those type of linebackers and actually about the guys that they have right now. So I know the dude from I believe Miami, they're really high on him. They were really high on him last year. And I'm very curious to see how it transitions in OTAs because Frank Bush, he's a very good coach. He's worked with a lot of good linebackers. I just know that the game is more spread out, and if they can, in their mind, translate from the back end to the middle of the field, meaning coming from the safety to the middle of the field, knowing the coverages, your 3x1s, your 2x2s, and your pass progressions, I think it's easy to fill in, A gap and B gap when it comes to the run.
Keith Bulluck, better known as Bully, here joining the show on RKW this morning. Bully, when it comes to the philosophy behind what Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker and, of course, Brian Callahan did this year in the draft, a lot of it has been put on development and culture guys. How do you feel like this will play out in terms of some of the guys that they may have taken a chance on where they were in the draft and that development part of it when you do need production, though, really in year one?
Well, I think, it's a totally new, obviously a new approach than we've seen the last year and the year before. So, it's one of those situations, in my opinion, you just kind of got to let it play out. But I like it because it makes sense when you speak it out. Even when you just said it to me, what came to my mind is, longevity. They're building their team for longevity, and that's what you hope you can do. You know what I mean? And it sounds great. Yeah, we're doing this. But, obviously that's why they get paid the big bucks. That's why they go into those in-depth scoutings and picking their guys. That's why with the number one pick, I feel they were in the driver's seat. They had the pick of the litter, whether it be Cam Ward or if they didn't feel there was a quarterback for them to make moves to get more draft picks to do exactly what you just said. The Titans always had control of the draft and had control of their destiny. So I think that's a great opportunity for, Brinker, Borzongi. Why am I saying his name wrong?
I be doing that too. Bully, I be messing them up too.
Borgonzi. Yeah, there you go. And Callahan to be in, first year working together and to, land a talent like Cam Ward that's focused, that wants to just continually get better and, be number one with his teammates being number one as well. So it's going to be interesting to see, but we all know that it's all on how your players perform on the field. I just feel that, obviously with 4 more wins last year, we're having a totally different conversation. That's neither here nor there. But at the same time, it's about the product that gets put on the field and how it performs on Sunday.
Bully, I'm curious of your opinion on this. We brought this up earlier in the show. Mike Borgonzi also said yesterday that they are going to right now, keep Will Levis around. There's going to be competition. He likes having competition in that quarterback's room. Is that good, though, for the team right now in terms of, I'm sure there are guys that are Will Levis guys still, right? And you've got a rookie coming in. Does that at all disrupt, the locker room in terms of having Will Levis still here?
I don't think so. I think I just saw an interview last week where, with Big Jeff, and he was like, if he had to do something, Will Levis would be one of the guys he would take. So I know there are still Will Levis guys, and that's just kind of how the locker room works, man. Like, no one's just pointing the finger at Will Levis like it's his fault. Like, no one in that locker room is doing that. So now it's like there's competition, and I think that's great competition. But at the end of the day, look, Cam Ward ain't, batting an eye at Will Levis. Will Levis had 14 to 17 shots, And if they didn't feel he could get it done with them shots, like, I'm not worried about me coming in here and now he's going to outdo me. You know what I mean? I'm going to work. If I'm Cam Ward, I'm going to work with my head down, learning from Will Levis and whoever else is trying to teach me. But at the end of the day, I'm not worried about anyone else's mission. Now, for Will Levis, I don't know how that works. You know, I know that when they brought Vince Young in here and Billy Volek was slotted to start, to be real, like, Billy's my guy, same draft class. He couldn't handle the pressure. You know, he asked for a trade or however that worked. Jim Wyatt and them could tell you better, but he ended up being a backup in San Diego for the rest of his life. I mean, great career, but that's what happened. Will Levis still has the fight in him. He still can be a starter in this league in his eyes. I feel like he can too in the right situation, whatever that is for him. But, you know, he's a young guy that confidence isn't shattered, and I don't think it'll get shattered in this situation either.
Keith Bulluck, our guest this morning on Ramon, Kayla, and Will. So, Keith, what is your expectation for Cam Ward and the wide receivers the Titans added into that room with Chimere Dike out of Florida and Ilike Manor from Stanford? How good can this offense be, in your opinion, in 2025?
I don't know, man. You know, I think if the running game, obviously, if Pollard could do what he did last year, they can get a little bit more out of the running game. You expect the offensive line to be a little more solid this year, and you like to think that your quarterback is going to make better decisions. I think that gives you a better offense right there. Now you need certain pieces in that offense to step up, right? You just drafted a tight end, so is it going to be Chig or is it going to be the tight end you drafted out of Texas? Is the wide receiver from Stanford, who's a big, fast guy, who honestly, look, I don't know what Traylon Burks was supposed to, we've never really seen him healthy. You know what I mean? I'll just do it like that. But I know I've seen this kid from Stanford. He torched Syracuse. I watched him torch a lot of teams last year, and, people are big on the Travis Hunter game. But however that goes, I know this kid has talent, and Stanford wasn't a happy team. So I know he can be a factor if he's able to, obviously pick up the system and put in the right situation. And then defensively, I feel the defense hung in there last year as long as they could, eventually you're going to get beat up. They can shore some things up. I don't like that there's not a surefire inside linebacker right now. They need heat off the edge. I think they'll be all right at the corners and in the secondary, but I think the biggest thing right now is you need some heat off the edge, and you need some middle linebackers to make some plays and be, disruptive in that intermediate pass area. And, before that is edge rushers, because you can't have quarterbacks baking cakes.
Absolutely not. With that being said, Bully, Kevin Winston Jr., man, comes in with a torn ACL. Should be good to go. They said he ran his 40 at Penn State, so he's closer than he, probably think he should be. How do you feel about getting a safety like him, man? Apparently had first-round talent. Good value, or are you cautionary because of the ACL?
ACL is a little different than like a neck or a back. I feel like maybe the Titans brought maybe Christian, someone in years ago that was kind of weary, but an ACL, you can heal from that. You could come off, you could be in PUP for the first 6 weeks and then still be dynamic. And the kid is still young. He's in his early 20s, so that doesn't worry me. I think that's great. It's almost like the kid from Michigan, Will Powell, Will Power, I believe his name was. Campbell, yes. Sorry, I wasn't all up on the names. But I know that he dropped to the second round, but we're sitting in the green room. We're sitting in the green room. Yeah. There you go. Sorry about that. It was a corner. We're sitting in the green room, and he was coming off ACL, but all his highlights were interceptions. His hand, it was 9 picks. And I'm like, yo, he dropped, and they were like, oh, he had an ACL and so on and so forth. That's how I look at ACLs, because the player still, especially a young player, has the opportunity to come back and be explosive, even more explosive and even more dynamic, unlike me when I tore mine at 33. So,
He is Keith Bulluck, television's Keith Bulluck, as seen on TV this past weekend in Green Bay, announcing the Titans pick. Former Titan joining us this morning. Always good to hear from you, Bully. Appreciate you, sir.
Bully, in that green room, did it get weird? With guys that had to wait? You mentioned
Yo, so you know what? We didn't go to the draft the first day. We just stayed at the hotel because all the draft picks came right back. So that's where I met Cam, had a few words with him, spoke to his family, had a few words with them. But the next day, the kid Byron Sorrell, who got drafted in the 4th round, he was in the green room.
Yeah.
And we didn't leave until like 10:30 because I waited with my man Julian Peterson. He did 2 picks. So we left at like 10:30. And he was there, and I was like, 9. I'm like, yo, is he a draft pick? So anyway, man, we said some words to him. I told him, like, yo, don't let this ruin your moment. This is a part of your journey. You're going to remember your draft day the rest of your life, even if you don't get picked tonight. He didn't get picked that night. He got picked the next day, but he waited it out, man. He was a trooper. So
wasn't it by Green Bay, Bully?
Yeah, it was by Green Bay. But, Moan, there were fireworks. Who I said, the kid from Michigan, the corner, his dad, he was cussing out the agent. There was a couple other people's parents cussing out agents because they got those kids in the green room. Jalen Milroe really thought he was going to go first round. He flew back the next day. So, yeah, there was a bunch of things like that we heard, when people were coming back to the hotel.
Oh, wow.
So, it's obviously the NFL wants all their college stars there for the coverage and, like, the nostalgia for, those former college fans seeing their players go to their respective teams. But it sucks for the kids and the parents when they don't hear their name called that first night.
It's the Bully T here on Ramon, Caleb, and Will.
Keith Bulluck, our guest here this morning on the show.
I'm going to get the scoop.
Absolutely right. Big J journalist, Keith Bulluck. All right, Bully, appreciate you, man. Good to hear from you.
Cold, Bully.
All right, there he is. Keith Bulluck here with us this morning.
Yes.
And that's the thing. There's a little line probably going on to get some of these faces there to fill that green room, right?
It's the agents.
Mm-hmm.
Coming up, headlines on the way out. Final call for phone calls, 615-737-1045. I'll reset the breaking news earlier this morning in the NFL for you coming up next.
Two Rivers Ford announces employee pricing for everyone. Every tradesman, every dad, every rising star. You pay what we pay. Two Rivers Ford. Locally owned. American made.
RKW on 104.5 The Zone, brewed by Scooters Coffee. Wrapping up the show, the Robert Walsh Show, coming up in 10 minutes. I say that because Lucas is not there, so we got to give Bert the ability to still outnumber Buck Rising for the next 3 hours on 104.5 The
Luke
Zone.
on vacation? Lucas on vacation?
Lucas is on vacation.
Oh,
he actually
is out all week.
Okay.
So we'll take over.
Look at that.
That's
Bert
right.
and Ramon show.
Down the game, Will.
We'll get to that in a second. First, we promised headlines on the way out. George Kittle an extension through the 2029 season. So there you go. $40 million guaranteed. Number one highest paid tight end. Sam Laporta is going to get a bag.
Oh, yeah.
Will Sam Laporta be the first
Yes.
$20 million tight end in NFL history?
He could be.
They tapped it just
Like
now.
he's gotta be.
Yeah,
He definitely could
100%.
be.
Second round pick, too.
Yep.
Second round pick, Sam Laporta. With that offense and what he means to them, absolutely he's getting that bag. $20 million a year for the young fella. And if they're smart, they do it early right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be bad.
Don't wait.
So George Kittle gets a deal first reported by Bussin' with the Boys. We'll give them the shout out for that. Didn't George Kittle just tweet at Diana Rossini the other day, disputing the fact that he wanted a new deal?
I didn't see that.
And then got a new deal today.
That's how it goes.
Yeah, so Diana Rossini on April 23rd tweets, Brock Purdy's appearance at 49ers OTAs is a positive sign as extension talks continue between San Fran and its QB. George Kittle's absence is also contract-related, sources say, and the two sides remain far apart. George Kittle responded to Diana on Twitter and said, your source is incorrect.
Oh. You know what?
And then today gets a new deal. Diana, very classy about it. Somebody said Diana Rossini deserves an apology. And she quote tweeted it this morning and said, it's all good. It's happened before and will happen again. Glad it all worked out.
That's the
What a
thing.
pro.
When you're an insider, especially a female insider, because it is hard. I don't care what anyone says. It is tougher to do in terms of building those sources. You're going to take hits like that. And so she's class act all the way. And she's so good at what she does. But none of these guys want it out there that they're holding back for, contract disputes. No one wants that out there.
Or maybe it's just so they can keep the noise down so they can finally let the business be the business in those situations. It's a finicky, spot to be in when you know the truth and you trying to probably break it yourself, too. It's somebody in the building that probably said something to Diana, and he probably had already had this set up with Taylor and Will to say, hey,
Those are
we're
his
breaking
buddies.
the hair. Yeah, 100. I think they all hang together. So, that's part of it.
Ramona, you want to tell people what you're watching right now?
I
He's
am
knee-deep in
watching 2007 Tennessee Vols highlights, and we looked at the 07 schedule, 08 schedule, my
the
senior
08
year.
schedule.
And
Fulmer's last year, 5-7.
did 5-7. We were playing at Auburn. Auburn was ranked 15th in the country at the time, and we lost to them
14-12.
14-12.
I was at that game.
Wow.
That's when I knew that offense we was running was dumb as hell.
Dave
Okay.
Clawson, shout out.
I'm looking at it
12.
right now.
One-time Wake Forest coach.
I'm on the left side playing left tackle, and it is so dumb.
Where
And
were you
worst
by the
about
end
it-
of that drive, Ramon?
Where was I? What do you mean? I was probably
you
on
on
the
right
right
tackle?
side. Yes, I flip-flop. This is by
So
far
if
the
you're, for those
dumbest system.
unfamiliar, Dave Clawson would switch the tackles mid-drive,
Yes.
where you would start at
Jeez.
left tackle and then you'd switch. Like you'd go in motion and switch, wouldn't you?
Yes, we would. We would break the huddle, go to the other side and stuff like that. Like we even flip-flop some stuff.
Crazy.
It is dumb. It is so predictable.
So
I know.
I remember being at that Auburn-Tennessee game, and Tennessee lost 14-12 because Crompton was your quarterback at that point. This was before Crompton got Lane Kiffin and became much better version of Jonathan Crompton. This was like, hey, Army All-American Jonathan Crompton is supposed to fill in for Eric Ainge and save us and be next up, and was not ready. And Martario Hardesty scored a touchdown to start the fourth quarter. And there's a 2-point conversion. You guys had to tie it. It was your only touchdown you scored in the game.
Oh,
And I remember not getting it and somebody in our section looking at us saying, just watch, that'll be the final score.
Oh, my God.
And it was.
And it was. It was the
14-12.
That's how those offenses were a crime against humanity.
Yes, they
Respectfully.
were. No,
Respectfully.
disrespectfully.
Worse than the
Jonathan
Titans
Crompton.
offenses?
No. Listen. Jonathan Crompton in that game was 8 of 23 for 67 yards. And Chris Todd,
Jeez.
the Auburn quarterback, was 14 of 23 for 93 yards.
I think I played against Senderic Marks on this team right
Yeah,
here.
that sounds right.
Yep, it was him. A few of those guys.
Hardesty, 10 carries for 36. Arian, 8 carries for 35. Heck, Gerald Jones had 4 carries for 31 yards in that game at wide receiver.
Just saw one of them. Guess what side I'm playing on right now? The right side. Guess what we're doing? Running to the left. Freaking idiot.
I'm not laughing at your pain. I'm laughing at Dave Clawson thinking that was a good idea.
And we installed it in the summertime.
Yeah.
That's so dumb.
In the summer?
In the
out
doggone
of all
summer.
time.
It is by far the
Because you guys in
dumbest thing.
07 were like one of the best offensive lines in the history of Tennessee football. So what do you do when you have that? Change everything the next year.
Yeah.
Just like the British guy when he was, you're ruining it. You're ruining it.
You're ruining it. Oh, man, you're ruining it.
You're ruining it.
You're ruining it.
Bomb.
I'm ready to ruin PSG's Champions League in the semifinal day. If you need me between 2 and 4 today, no, you don't. That's why I've got the Arsenal jersey on today. So anyway,
Semifinal, you said?
in the Buffalo Bills, the GM clip of him yelling at the reporters, the guy was wearing a Liverpool jersey, so he deserved it. I'm now officially on Brandon Bean's side. Back at it tomorrow. Rhett Bryan will join us to break down the draft class.
The official on Brandon Bean's side.
Let's get the GM to yell at us.
I'm all
Get him
for
on to yell at us.
Liverpool fans being silenced and shushed. Most annoying fan base in footy. Anyway. Buck Rising show next. Tune in for Robert Walsh now trying to go 1v1 with Buck.
Yeah, I'll be on there at 10:22, by the way. Let's go.
And tune in for Ramon Foster at 10:20.
Hey, Vols, man, drop the BVS, okay? Don't look at old tape of us.
Not
all
a way anymore.
It's not, okay? But remember, your two fingers in your mic as always, all right?